The first sequence this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1: Sick in the Brain. Waking up from the dark chaos, the young Ren Xiaosu wiped the sweat from his forehead, and then looked at the 13 or 14-year-old boy at the door. "Lin, is there anything wrong?" Ren Xiaosu asked. The child called Lin is actually Yan Lin. Yan Lin looks harmless and innocent, but he is guarding the door with a bone knife in his hand. It is late at night, and he looks very sleepy but never closes his eyes, because he has to keep watch. Yan Lin shook his head and said, "It's okay. What's wrong with your brain? Can't the doctor in the market town see what the disease is? You don't have to worry about such things." "I'm not sick," Ren Xiaosu said decisively. "It's almost dawn. I'm going out hunting. You sleep for a while and go to school on time." "Oh," Yan Lin nodded in a low voice. "In this wasteland, what's the use of studying well? If I say it's useful, it's useful," Ren Xiaosu said in an unquestionable tone. "I want to go hunting too," Yan Lin pursed his lips. "Who'll keep watch if something happens to you?" "I'm unconscious." Ren Xiaosu stood up and prepared to go to the center of the town to fetch water. The town would not be so dangerous at dawn. The night here is a lawless place. Dark clouds were rolling in the gloomy sky. A drop of acid rain finally fell from the clouds. It kept swaying in the wind, and finally fell in front of Ren Xiaosu with a clatter. The young Ren Xiaosu lay on the ground in the wilderness. He frowned and thought that his luck was a bit bad today. The acid rain came before the prey. Some people say that you must be careful of wild animals when walking on this wasteland. But Ren Xiaosu felt that this person didn't say it completely, because there are many things in this wasteland that can kill people, one of which is acid rain. But Ren Xiaosu still didn't move. If there is no prey today, before the acid rain brings diseases, he and Yan Lin will starve to death. Suddenly, there was a sound of bird wings flapping in the air. Ren Xiaosu's eyes suddenly widened, but his breath was still not disordered. Not far in front of Ren Xiaosu, he was propping up a black iron pot with a branch, and a little bit of black breadcrumbs were sprinkled under the iron pot. The big bird landed next to the iron pot and watched vigilantly, with a sharp look in its eyes. In fact, the bird was not much smaller than the iron pot. It stood there combing its feathers for a long time, while Ren Xiaosu continued to wait motionlessly. It seemed that the big bird finally let down its guard and began to slowly move towards the iron pot, with the footsteps of a thief. However, when it entered the range of the iron pot and just lowered its head to peck at the breadcrumbs, Ren Xiaosu suddenly pulled the rope in his hand violently, and then the boy jumped up and rushed towards the iron pot like a wild donkey. Before the big bird overturned the iron pot, he tried his best to use his body to hold the iron pot firmly. "Huh?" Ren Xiaosu exhaled a foul breath. He had waited for this sparrow for a whole night, but it was gratifying that his efforts today were not in vain. You know, such a good opportunity doesn't come every day. The sound of the sparrow struggling came from under the iron pot, and the hard wings rubbed against the iron pot to make a sharp sound. At this time, the alarm clock in the refuge wall sounded melodiously. Ren Xiaosu looked back and didn't know when he could take Yan Lin into the refuge wall. For Ren Xiaosu, the people in the refuge wall were happy because they didn't have to face the dangers in the wasteland. However, not everyone could enter there. At this time, the movement in the iron pot finally became much smaller. He sighed and confirmed again that the rags on his hand had been wrapped, and then slowly opened a gap in the iron pot. Ren Xiaosu's hand reached in through the gap and tried to grab the leg of the big sparrow. But life is not always so smooth. As soon as Ren Xiaosu's hand reached in, he screamed. Ren Xiaosu took back his palm and saw that his palm was bleeding. The rag could not block the sharp mouth of the sparrow. Ren Xiaosu was angry. He simply took off his tattered coat and wrapped it around his hand. He thrust his palm into the iron pot and this time he grabbed the sparrow's neck. He took the sparrow out and clamped it in his arm. He twisted it hard, and the sparrow's neck snapped and did not move again. At this time, Ren Xiaosu suddenly felt distressed because his coat was dug with several holes by the claws of the sparrow. Suddenly, there was a thump in his mind, and Ren Xiaosu knelt on the ground. It was as if a huge bronze bell was ringing in his mind, and he fell into dark chaos. Damn, the disease always came at midnight in the past, but this time it came early. This was not the first time he had sickness. Almost everyone in the market town knew that there was something wrong with his brain and he would have pain attacks from time to time. But Ren Xiaosu knew very well that it was not pain, it was pure chaos. Wait, this time was different from the previous times. The black frog in his mind actually opened up, revealing a palace inside. Ren Xiaosu suddenly opened his eyes, stood up in disbelief and looked at himself. I woke up so quickly this time. He had the opportunity to take a good look at the appearance of the palace, but he knew better that falling into coma in such a wilderness would be tantamount to committing suicide. He must now rush back to the market town outside the number 113 shelter before the acid rain completely arrives. Ren Xiaosu tied up the 2 claws of the sparrow and hung them on his shoulders, then carried his big iron pot upside down on his head and began to run wildly. The raindrops hit the iron pot and made a clattering sound. At this time, the iron pot became his umbrella. However, before he ran far, a figure stopped in front of him and held a bow knife. Give me the prey. But before the man finished speaking, he saw a huge iron pot in his field of vision coming from far away and slapping him hard in the face. Fuck. The robber fell backwards. He didn't expect Ren Xiaosu to be so quick and powerful. He saw Ren Xiaosu unloading the pot, throwing it, holding it as an umbrella and running wildly without stopping. Before the robber even lay on the ground, Ren Xiaosu was already running far away. The robber lay on his back, his face was stinging and painful from the acid rain hiding his face. There were some things he couldn't figure out. Don't people usually have some communication? How many such situations did this boy have to deal with to have such an instinctive reaction? Exclamation mark. No, the boy's footsteps were approaching again. The robber hurriedly sat up and turned his head to look, and he found that the boy had turned back. Ren Xiaosu didn't plan to come back, but he clearly heard a voice from the palace in his mind. Mission, give the prey to others. Who is talking? Ren Xiaosu turned back and walked towards the robber with doubt. The robber panicked. We can talk it over. No, I'm the victim. Ren Xiaosu looked at the robber carefully. There was no one else around. Do you want this sparrow? Ren Xiaosu asked. The robber's eyes lit up. Yes. Here you go. Ren Xiaosu stuffed the sparrow into the other's arms without saying anything. The strange and neutral voice sounded again. The mission is completed, and you will be rewarded with a basic skill learning map, which can be used to learn other people's abilities. Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment, because he clearly felt that there was really a brown paper page in his mind. Skill learning map, meaning that he can use this to directly copy other people's abilities? Hunting? Survival? Or something else? The robber hugged the huge sparrow tightly in his arms and prepared to say something to thank him. You are a good person. Before he finished speaking, he watched Ren Xiaosu drag the sparrow away again and then walked away. Robber. He looked at Ren Xiaosu's back as he ran all the way. What the hell is this person? What is he looking for? Chapter 2. This world never believes in tears. Because of the robbers and the sudden coma, Ren Xiaosu returned late. He looked at the sky and saw that it was about to be shrouded in darkness. It was extremely dangerous to carry prey through the market town at this time. During the day, there were people in the refuge barrier who came out to maintain order, and at night they returned to the barrier. Of course, the people in the refuge barrier were not kind, but they were worried that the market town would be too chaotic and would affect the work of the refugees. Hey, Ren Xiaosu has a big harvest today. When Ren Xiaosu ran into the market town carrying an iron pot, someone greeted him. The man's face was black, as if he had never washed his face since he was born. Many people in the market town are like this. On weekdays, in order to exchange for food, they go to the nearby coal mine to dig coal. The coal is transported into the refuge barrier, and then the workers can get black bread or potatoes that are just enough to survive. Not only digging coal, but also the dirty and tiring work required in the barrier will be done by people outside the barrier. The well water in the market town is all quota, and no one can get more than that every day. There was no clean water nearby, or rather, the clean water was too dangerous, as wild animals gathered to drink the water. Therefore, the people in the whole town were so dirty that they could not be seen clearly, and Ren Xiaosu was no exception. However, Ren Xiaosu never went to dig coal, and he had his own way of survival. At this time, Ren Xiaosu did not respond to someone greeting him, he just wanted to quickly return to his shack. Just as Ren Xiaosu passed by the small road in the town, He saw the towering ramparts not far away. When he looked up, he felt depressed as if he could not see the end of the sky. There were not many earth and stone buildings in the town, but more shack-like residences. Ren Xiaosu, who was originally quite relaxed, suddenly became alert after entering the town, and he even pulled out a bone knife from his waist. The atmosphere on the street became solemn, as if there was some danger hidden in those shacks, but when Ren Xiaosu pulled out the bone knife, those people who were ready to move calmed down again. The first thing Ren Xiaosu learned from living here was not to trust anyone, except Yan Liudan. There were whispers from the shacks on the roadside. Ren Xiaosu has caught prey again. What kind of prey is that? It's just a sparrow. This is different from the sparrow in the old textbooks. I guess the eagle before the disaster was only this big. Don't mess with him, a voice ended the whispers, as if someone knew about Ren Xiaosu's past. Ren Xiaosu lifted the curtain of his house, and the warmth inside made his body seem less stiff. Yan Liudan, who was sitting in the shack doing homework, looked up and saw Ren Xiaosu coming back, and was surprised. Did you catch a sparrow? Why don't you light the kerosene lamp? Ren Xiaosu asked with a frown. Yan Liudan was not usually well behaved, at least not in front of people other than Ren Xiaosu, but when facing Ren Xiaosu, his brother, he would always be unexpectedly docile. I want to save some kerosene for the family. What if he gets myopic? Ren Xiaosu put the sparrow down. Yan Liudan's eyes lit up and he said, the teacher in the academy said that there were glasses before the disaster. He also said that there are still glasses now, but inside the shelter, with this thing, you don't have to worry even if you are nearsighted. Ren Xiaosu was dismissive of this statement. I have seen someone bring the thing you said, but in this wilderness, entrusting your vision to an object that may fall at any time is tantamount to committing suicide. Don't listen to your teacher's nonsense. Some of what your teacher said may not be true. Oh. Yan Liudan nodded. Then why did you send me to the academy? Ren Xiaosu choked. Why are you talking so much nonsense? When can I go hunting with you? Yan Liudan asked. You are only 14 years old. Why are you learning hunting? If you go to the academy and learn well, you don't have to hunt anymore, Ren Xiaosu said. Learn how to count, learn physics and chemistry, etc. Won't it be better than hunting? You are only 17 years old. Yan Liudan was not convinced. In this era, even the most barbaric people know the importance of knowledge. This is also the reason why teachers can survive in the market town. No matter what kind of trouble happens in the market town, teachers are always the safest ones. No one will go after teachers. However, the tuition is expensive, otherwise Ren Xiaosu would also like to go and listen. Ren Xiaosu skillfully dissected a sparrow while setting up an iron pot. What did you talk about today? You can only eat some of the sparrow's internal organs, and the rest will be sold tomorrow. Are you injured? Yan Liudan frowned when he saw the wound on Ren Xiaosu's palm. It was pecked by a sparrow and bleeding. The big iron pot was placed on a stick, and the fire in the shack made Ren Xiaosu's face flickering. It's just a minor injury. The room fell into silence. After a while, Ren Xiaosu took out the sparrow's internal organs from the pot and handed them to Yan Liudan. Eat it. Yan Liudan's eyes suddenly turned red. I won't eat it. You eat it. You need to heal your wound. I just need to drink some soup, Ren Xiaosu said. I still have black bread. I won't eat it. Your wound is not a minor one at all. I saw someone in the market town die of inflammation and infection because of a minor wound a few days ago. We don't have medicine here, Yan Liudan said stubbornly. Tears were about to fall. Pa. Ren Xiaosu suddenly slapped Yan Liudan in the face and said, remember, we can't cry as long as we live in this world. This world doesn't believe in tears. Ren Xiaosu continued, look at the people around us. What if someone rushes in at night and stabs me to death? I asked you to go to school because I don't want you to have to hunt like me. You have special abilities. As long as you study hard, you don't have to get up early and go to the wilderness to make a living like me. I asked you to go to school because I don't want you to become as barbaric as them. Yan Liudan suddenly took the sparrow intestines handed over by Ren Xiaosu and gobbled them up. After all, he didn't shed tears. He had to learn to be as strong as Ren Xiaosu. Ahem, after eating, bring a clean cloth to bandage my wound, Ren Xiaosu said. Oh, Yan Liudan agreed. He's usually very clever and quirky outside, but how come he's like a little punching bag when he comes home? Ren Xiaosu sighed. Did anything happen in the market town today? By the way, Yan Liudan said while looking for a clean cloth, A group of people came out of the refuge barrier, saying they were looking for a guide who could lead the way to refuge barrier number 112. They wanted to go directly through Jingshan. Go to refuge barrier number 112. Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment and frowned, and they have to go through Jingshan. Do you think they will look for you? Everyone in the market town knows that you're familiar with the outside world, Yan Liwen said with a blink of his eyes. I heard that they are a band and singer in refuge barrier number 113, and they were invited to perform at refuge barrier number 112. I haven't seen the singer yet. I'm not going. Ren Xiaosu shook his head. Whoever wants to go to the Jingshan area can go. You should stay away from them. This group of people is weird. Ren Xiaosu was feeling a little complicated at this moment. What kind of world is this? There are actually people who specialize in singing, and a band? What is it like inside the refuge fortress? Ren Xiaosu suddenly felt a little yearning. Chapter 3: A Palace. Ren Xiaosu fell asleep. He had been guarding outside in the wilderness for so long before he caught a sparrow. Although he lay on the ground without moving most of the time, people who know the business know that lying on the ground without moving and having to stay alert all the time is the most energy-consuming. Before he fell asleep, he told Yan Liwen again, you must stay away from those people. They must know that Jingshan is dangerous. Most people will choose to avoid Jingshan, but they insist on passing through there. My intuition tells me that this is not a simple matter. Yes, Yan Liwen nodded obediently, I know. In fact, Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen are a very strange combination. A few years ago, they didn't know each other. Later, Ren Xiaosu decided to protect the young Yan Liwen. On the one hand, it was because he accidentally learned Yan Liwen's secret, and on the other hand, his headache had troubled him for a long time, so he needed a night watchman. At the beginning, Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen made it very clear that they were using each other, but after all these years, it has long been unclear whether it was affection or use. Yan Liwen has always been very smart outside, and he is only like an obedient baby with Ren Xiaosu. Sometimes Yan Liwen would say that his life was bought by Ren Xiaosu with his own life, but Ren Xiaosu never admitted this statement. Ren Xiaosu now wanted to explore what had happened in his mind. Tonight, he deliberately waited for a long time to see if the disease that had troubled him in the past would appear again. As a result, the chaos really did not appear. It was as if the palace had always been hidden in his chaotic mind, and now the black chaotic fog had finally dissipated. Ren Xiaosu wanted to see what was in this palace. Yan Liwen glanced at Ren Xiaosu lying next to him, quietly picked up the bone knife and sat at the door of the shack. There was only a thick door curtain hanging in the shack. Now it was autumn, and it was a bit cold. At this moment, the rain stopped. There were footsteps outside the shack door curtain, and the boots felt uniquely slippery on the muddy road after the rain. The door curtain was lifted up by someone, but before the person outside could completely lift the door curtain, Yan Liwen's bone knife was already against the other person's neck. It was a pretty face, and there was a pretty woman outside the door. Yan Liwen frowned. The visitor was not a stranger. She lived not far away. The woman smiled and said, Liwen is still awake. Where is Xiaosu? I heard that Xiaosu is back. Sister Xiaosu, he has already fallen asleep. Yan Liwen smiled and said, why don't you tell me what you want to say? Xiaosu looked a little unnatural. He didn't get hurt this time. The tiger's mouth was pecked by a sparrow, but Sister Xiaosu, you don't have to worry about my brother so much. You are 8 years older than him. After letting Xiaosu fall asleep, Yan Liwen had a mature temperament that did not match his age when facing outsiders. No matter if he met an acquaintance or not, no matter what the other party said, the bone knife in his hand never left Xiaosu's neck. Xiaosu took out a cigarette and a lighter from the bag she brought with her. The cigarette was a cigarette, which was only distributed by industries such as coal mines and power plants that belonged to the refuge barrier. Many strong laborers go to work not only for money and food, but also for this cigarette. One cigarette for every day's work. So at night when you get off work, you can often see a large group of people smoking together. Ren Xiaosu told Yan Liwen that those tobaccos may be mixed with some more addictive substances. And now Xiaosu's cigarettes are obviously not obtained by her work. Xiaosu lit up the cigarette and took 2 puffs, as if thinking about something. You are a little devil, I treat you as my younger brothers. Oh, Yan Liwen suddenly asked, do you have a cold? Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. Yes, is my voice a little hoarse? No, Yan Liwen shook his head and smiled. I saw that when you smoke, one of your nostrils did not smoke. Xiaoyu. I don't know why Xiaoyu always feels that Yan Liwen doesn't like her very much. Then I'll go back first, Xiaoyu said. When your brother wakes up, tell him that I've been here. Okay, Yan Liwen said with a smile, I'll tell him. Xiaoyu left, and Ren Xiaosu's voice suddenly rang out from behind Yan Liwen. Don't bully your sister Xiaoyu anymore, it's not easy for her either. Brother, she's not clean, Yan Liwen said, and she only approaches you because she sees that you always catch prey. Who's clean? Ren Xiaosu said calmly, no one who wants to survive in this world can be clean. They're all forced by life. Just stay away from her and don't tease her. In this market town, a single woman who is too clean can't survive. Ren Xiaosu thought for a while and said, she didn't say she likes me or anything. Also, are you sure she approaches me because I can catch prey? Isn't it because I'm handsome? Brother, everyone hasn't washed their faces for months, and they basically look the same. Yan Liwen looked at Ren Xiaosu speechlessly. Brother, aren't you asleep? Why aren't you asleep yet? Think about something, Ren Xiaosu explained simply. Ren Xiaosu didn't sleep because he was trying to find the secret of the palace. The walls of the circular palace were lined with old wooden cabinets, like a huge showroom. However, the display shelves in the showroom were shrouded in black fog, and it was unclear what was inside. There was only a table in the middle of the palace, and on the table was a brass typewriter that had been eliminated long before the disaster. The type that made a clicking sound when typing. There were only 24 brass keys on this typewriter, and each brass key was engraved with a word: justice, justice, honesty, truth, friendship, kindness, wealth, power. It can be said to be very positive energy. It was just that the typewriter seemed to be stuffed with endless brown paper, and without anyone hitting the copper keys, it would click and move by itself. Now there were 2 lines of small words on it that appeared in the afternoon. Task: give the prey to others. After completing the task, you will be rewarded with a basic skill learning map, and you can learn other people's abilities. He couldn't tell whether this was his own imagination or for some other reason. Legend has it that someone can create a memory palace, and in the memory palace, one can even recast a fantasy universe according to the ability level of one's own spiritual will. But Ren Xiaosu felt that his palace seemed to be a little different from the description of the memory palace. But why would it let him give the prey to others? This typewriter wanted him to be a good person? To be a good person in this world where morality is a bit extravagant? No way. At that time, his consciousness stood in the center of the vast palace and looked around the display cabinet around him. There seemed to be objects floating in the display cabinet, but it was blocked by darkness. The dark fog made Ren Xiaosu unable to see what the floating objects were. The display cabinets were connected to the dome of the palace, like a huge museum. Ren Xiaosu walked to a cabinet and wanted to reach out to touch the things floating in the black fog, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not break through the resistance of the black fog. This was a power that he could not spy on now. If he wanted to know whether the palace really existed, Ren Xiaosu needed to prove it with his actions. Chapter 4 Luck is also a skill. I may have some ability, Ren Xiaosu said. Yan Liwen, who was sitting at the door of the shack, looking at the starry sky after the rain, was stunned for a moment. You mean? I'm not sure yet, I have to try it. Ren Xiaosu sat on the ground next to Yan Liwen. There is a legend in the town that some people can make a train from nothingness to reality. I didn't believe it before, but I believed it a little after seeing you. Now I may have a strange ability. This feeling is very strange. Yan Liwen's ability is luck. This is a very strange ability. When Yan Liwen made a wish that Ren Xiaosu could catch prey, even if Ren Xiaosu walked in the wilderness and did nothing, sparrows would fall in front of him inexplicably. However, this ability has backlash, usually reacting to Yan Liwen's high fever after making a wish, or other minor illnesses and disasters. This is why Ren Xiaosu wanted to protect Yan Liwen at the beginning. He didn't believe it at first, but later he couldn't help but believe it. Suddenly, a meteor streaked across the sky. Yan Liwen subconsciously put his hands together and made a wish, but was stopped by Ren Xiaosu. Don't make random wishes, or something bad will happen. Ren Xiaosu rarely used Yan Liwen's luck now. He said that it was because he was able to catch prey and didn't need Yan Liwen's ability. Yan Liwen never refuted. The thin Yan Liwen looked at the meteor that had disappeared and said in a trance, why did the meteor fly so fast? What if everyone didn't have time to make a wish? Ren Xiaosu thought for a while and said, "It flew so fast, maybe because it didn't want to hear what you wished for at all." Yan Liwen turned around and looked at Ren Xiaosu in a daze. Yan Liwen was Ren Xiaosu's night watchman, but it didn't mean that he had to watch all night. Ren Xiaosu would take over in the middle. After all, Yan Liwen still had to go to class during the day. This situation was very tormenting. Not getting enough sleep was a big problem, but to survive in this environment, neither Ren Xiaosu nor Yan Liwen had any choice. In the early morning, Ren Xiaosu led Yan Liwen out, carrying all valuables with him, even his big iron pot. It was no surprise that when they returned to their shack at night, it must have been turned over by someone. "I heard that the doors of the refugee camp are not locked at night, so no one steals anything," Yan Liwen said, carrying his bedding roll, and then he saw Ren Xiaosu carrying the big iron pot wherever he went. This was almost all their belongings. Yan Liwen usually carried his bedding to school, and other students were similar. Everyone was used to it. Bullshit. Ren Xiaosu yearned for life in the refugee camp, but he firmly did not believe that there was a place in the world where doors were not locked at night. Some people think that people in the refugee camp fart and the air is sweet. "Then you can't always carry the pot around," Yan Liwen said. "What do you know?" Ren Xiaosu explained, "I found this pot with great difficulty. It can be used for cooking and catching sparrows. How can we live without it?" Ren Xiaosu carried the iron pot on his shoulder with one hand and held the huge sparrow upside down with the other hand. When walking on the road, many people cast envious eyes on Ren Xiaosu. You have to know that in the current order of species, humans are no longer the top species in the food chain. People say that sparrows used to be less than the size of a palm, but now? This thing can peck people to death. Not everyone has the ability to catch sparrows, and not everyone has the patience to lie in the wilderness for a day and a night. Everyone has not seen meat for several years. It would be a lie to say that they don't envy Ren Xiaosu. Ren Xiaosu brought Yan Liwen to the gate of the refuge barrier. The towering wall gave people a great sense of oppression. When they got here, the architecture changed, and even brick and stone houses could be seen. The closer to the barrier, the cleaner, neater and richer it looked. The people who lived here all had some connection with the refugee barrier, maybe because they were good at flattering, or maybe because they had relatives inside. But no matter what, these refugees were collectively called polluted people, and they could not enter the barrier. Ren Xiaosu walked into a room with the words grocery store written on the door. There were cigarettes, matches, ironware, food, and clothes for sale inside, but the prices were very expensive. The old man in the room was particularly happy when he saw Ren Xiaosu. "This sparrow looks quite big." Ren Xiaosu threw the sparrow onto the glass counter. "How much?" "Oh, be gentle, this glass is very valuable," Lao Wang said distressedly, and then he threw the sparrow onto the iron scale next to him. 3 pounds and 6 ounces, not bad, Xiaosu. At this time, the abacus in Lao Wang's hand made a clicking sound, and his dry hands like chicken claws seemed to be wound up, and the abacus made a clanging sound. "Today's market price is 200 yuan per pound, so yours is 700. 900, Ren Xiaosu said firmly. "It's almost winter, and there are fewer sparrows recently. 900 can't be any less." Lao Wang was unhappy. He pushed the abacus in front of Ren Xiaosu. "We send these to the barrier for the nobles to eat. It's true that there is a shortage of meat in the barrier, but everything has a price, and we have to follow the rules." As soon as he finished speaking, Lao Wang saw Ren Xiaosu turning around and preparing to go out while playing with the sparrows. He quickly grabbed the sleeve of Ren Xiaosu's torn coat and said, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to ask Lao Li about the price at the grocery store," Ren Xiaosu said. Lao Wang's hands tightened immediately. Today, the manager of the fortress specifically instructed to collect game. This news was not only known to him. Lao Wang smiled with a big wrinkle on his face and said, "How much do you want to sell it for?" Ren Xiaosu still wanted to leave. "I'll ask the price first." Lao Wang smiled very kindly. "That will delay Liwen's school time. 900 is 900. "What did you say last time?" Ren Xiaosu asked calmly. "That won't delay." "Say it again. How much do you want to sell it for?" 1,200. Lao Wang. After a long while, Lao Wang counted the money distressedly, counting it over and over again with saliva, for fear that he had counted it wrong. The final transaction price was 1,198, and Ren Xiaosu also made his own concessions. A sparrow was sold for 1,198, not because the prices were too high, nor because the sparrow was big, but mainly because it was not common to eat wild game in the number 113 shelter. Scarcity makes things valuable, and Lao Wang would not do a business that would lose money. He could make a small profit by selling this sparrow to a powerful family, and he could also get some favors. Lao Wang stuffed a pile of change into Ren Xiaosu's hand with a distressed look on his face. At this time, he seemed to remember something and lowered his voice and said, "Xiaosu, next time you catch a sparrow, don't kill it directly. There are nobles who want it alive, and the price is higher." Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. "Why do you want it alive? Kill it right away." "No," Lao Wang shook his head, "you don't understand this. Someone wants to raise a sparrow for fun." Chapter 5 School. Raising them for fun? Not eating them. Ren Xiaosu was puzzled. "That's such a waste. These are all good meat." "You don't understand the world of rich people," Lao Wang laughed. "It is said that a few hundred years ago, rich people kept eagles for fun. Now eagles are too big and too dangerous, so they have to keep sparrows. Look at how fierce these sparrows look. Rich people like this." Ren Xiaosu thought for a while. It turned out that when most people were still hungry, some people started to keep sparrows for fun. "But it costs more to keep them alive," Ren Xiaosu said. "When this thing is alive, it can scratch people to death if you are not careful. It's too dangerous." At this time, Ren Xiaosu suddenly thought, the refugees outside are polluted, so are these sparrows not polluted? Or does the refugee barrier only need these refugees to work for them, and this wall naturally divides the levels? "You have to take risks to achieve wealth and honor," Lao Wang said with a smile. "The fact that you can endure all night long proves that you are not an ordinary person. As long as you make a little more effort to catch a living thing, you might not have to work for half a year. Besides, have you ever thought about saving some money and getting married?" "Marrying a bullshit," Ren Xiaosu said unhappily. Lao Wang pretended to be mysterious. "The girl from Lao Li's family next door and your brother Lin are both in school. They are serious girls. According to what you said, shouldn't I sell this sparrow directly to Lao Li? Do I need your introduction?" Ren Xiaosu turned to ask Yan Lin, "Are you classmates with Lao Li's girl?" "Yes," Yan Lin nodded. "She is very strong." "Go away, go and have fun," Lao Wang said unhappily. "You just pretended I didn't say anything and took my kindness for granted." Seeing that Ren Xiaosu and Yan Lin were about to perform crosstalk in unison, Lao Wang stopped them decisively. He changed the subject and said, "Remember, next time if you can catch one alive, you must come to me." "Okay," Ren Xiaosu nodded. In fact, although catching one alive was dangerous, it was not impossible. He looked into the grocery store. "How much is the cotton padded jacket?" "The cotton padded jacket is new, 500 each." "You know the price. I paid 490 for it." "I don't make money from cotton padded jackets," Lao Wang said. "Everyone who doesn't freeze to death counts." "You're quite kind," Ren Xiaosu praised nonchalantly. "Give me one. Look at how big Lin wears." "Brother, you should buy one too," Yan Lin said quickly. "Children should not interrupt when adults are talking." Ren Xiaosu frowned. "I'm not cold. Money is a good thing. The consortiums that control the various refuge barriers issue currency to ensure the circulation of materials, which is convenient, but without money it is difficult to move forward. The winter here is very cold, but the money should be kept for emergencies. There is still more than a month before winter. If he can catch sparrows again, Ren Xiaosu thinks it won't be too late to buy a cotton padded jacket then. The key is that Yan Lin should pay tuition, which is paid every month." Ren Xiaosu looked around the grocery store again, and his eyes suddenly stopped at the counter behind Lao Wang. "How much are antibiotics and anti-inflammatory drugs?" "You want to buy medicine?" Lao Wang noticed at this time that there was blood on the cloth wrapped around Ren Xiaosu's hand. "Are you injured? Then you have to buy some medicine, otherwise the infection will cost you your life." "I'm asking you how much?" Ren Xiaosu said impatiently. 210 per pill, Lao Wang said. "Antibiotics must be taken for 3 consecutive days. I'll sell you 3 pills for 620 yuan, and give you another iodine application. I only have 10 pills left." Ren Xiaosu thought for a while and said, "Round it off. If you want to round off the zero after 620, shut up as soon as possible," Lao Wang said unhappily. Ren Xiaosu smacked his lips and reluctantly withdrew his gaze. "Forget it, I won't buy it. It usually won't get inflamed in winter." He turned around and took Yan Ling to school. When passing by the grain store, Ren Xiaosu went in and bought a long black bread. This black bread was mixed with something unknown, and it made his throat sore when he swallowed it. Yan Ling chewed the black bread and said, "Brother, why don't you pay the tuition and go to class? You want to go to class so much?" "I still have to go out hunting," Ren Xiaosu said. "I heard what Lao Wang said just now. There are still many female students from well-off families in your school. Don't fall in love too early. I heard that people in the past got married at the age of 13 or 14, Yan Ling retorted. Although he didn't think about these things between men and women, he was actually very happy to quarrel with Ren Xiaosu. Finding joy in suffering is probably one of the most powerful abilities of human beings. Ren Xiaosu patted Yan Ling's head in a fake gesture. "Can it be the same now? You are still young. The woman you are dating now will be someone else's wife in the future." At this point, Ren Xiaosu smacked his lips. "Someone else's wife? Why does it sound so exciting?" "Brother, what are you talking about? Why don't I understand?" Yan Ling said with blinking eyes. "Go away, stop pretending," Ren Xiaosu said unhappily. The school is the cleanest and tidiest place in the whole town, and it is also the only residence with an independent courtyard. Walking from the outside to the inside, you can see that the courtyard is planted with scattered scallions, garlic sprouts, potatoes, cabbage. Originally, Ren Xiaosu thought that a place like the school should grow some bamboo or something, but after all, food is hard to find these days, and it is really a blessing to have a place to grow vegetables. So Ren Xiaosu's previous wish was to let Yan Ling grow up to be a teacher. It's not that he respects teachers so much, but he thinks that teachers are safe and can have their own yard to grow some vegetables, and no one will steal them. What a wonderful thing this is. Generally speaking, Ren Xiaosu's wishes are usually very simple. Yan Ling took the tuition fee to go to class. Ren Xiaosu squatted on the wall and listened to the reading inside. He couldn't afford the tuition fee, so he could only eavesdrop. The teacher sometimes told students how glorious human civilization was in the past. To be honest, the teacher himself had never seen that era. Now all he talked about were some things passed down by word of mouth, and they might have been passed down incorrectly. Although it was not very reliable, Ren Xiaosu was fascinated by it. Sometimes Ren Xiaosu would ask Yan Ling about the knowledge and questions that he didn't understand or hear clearly, which made Yan Ling very distressed, because if he couldn't answer it, it meant that he didn't listen carefully. So when Ren Xiaosu was listening, Yan Ling listened to the class very seriously. I don't know why, Yan Ling would admit that his brother looked really handsome when he studied hard. No wonder Sister Xiao would pay for him. In the classroom, the teacher was holding a book. He looked wistfully at some of the sleeping students below, then looked at Ren Xiaosu on the wall outside the window, and said to Yan Ling, "Go back and tell your brother that he can come to the yard to listen in the future." "Okay." Yan Ling smiled. Chapter 6 Walls and Science. There was only one teacher in the school, named Zhang Jinglin, and all the classes were taught by him alone. Others thought that he was amazing and knew everything. But Ren Xiaosu always had doubts. It is said that everyone has their own expertise, and a person's energy is limited, so Mr. Zhang can't be omniscient, right? Ren Xiaosu has always been different from others. He likes to reflect when he looks at problems. Later, when he listened to Mr. Zhang's lectures, he realized that this is called looking at problems dialectically. Yan Ling was sometimes confused because Ren Xiaosu often refuted Mr. Zhang Jinglin's views, but he still came to listen to Mr. Zhang's class when he was free. In the afternoon class, Ren Xiaosu took Yan Ling to celebrate, not for anything else, but because he could listen to the class in the yard in the future. On weekdays, squatting on the wall was too far away from the classroom, so it was a bit difficult to hear clearly. Originally, Zhang Jinglin liked to close the doors and windows when he was giving lectures, because he was afraid that the noise outside would affect the students and cause everyone to be distracted. But later he found that Ren Xiaosu would leave a window open after eavesdropping. Now, he simply called Ren Xiaosu to the yard. Many parents in this chaotic world send their children to school not for their children to learn, but to make it easier for their children to get married in the future. Especially girls who have been to school can usually be married to a good family. In this era, it is already very good to be able to read and write and do three-digit arithmetic. Everyone is busy surviving, and who cares whether you have education when there is almost no food to eat? Therefore, most parents do not send their children to school for long-term plans. There are both poor and rich people in this small market town, and where there are people, there will be comparisons. Yan Liwen watched Ren Xiaosu go to the grocery store to buy a cigarette with a filter. Lao Wang even proudly said that his cigarettes definitely did not have any big spices added, and they were very safe. One cigarette costs 20, and things are precious because they are rare. Yan Liwen asked in confusion, "Brother, why are you buying cigarettes? Your teacher let me into the courtyard to attend the class. I don't have to pay the tuition, but I have to show my appreciation," Ren Xiaosu said with a smile. "I know Mr. Zhang likes to smoke." In Ren Xiaosu's opinion, when others show kindness, he should return it. The two of them went to the backyard of the school while everyone was having lunch. Mr. Zhang was eating stir-fried cabbage, and Ren Xiaosu took the initiative to pass the cigarette to Mr. Zhang with a smile. Zhang Jinglin did not refuse, but asked Yan Liwen to stay away. "You are still growing up, and it is not good to smell the smoke." Ren Xiaosu thanked him. "Thank you, sir, for letting me go into the yard to listen to the lecture." "Huh?" Zhang Jinglin lit the cigarette with a match he used to make a fire at home, and then exhaled a puff of smoke happily. "Nowadays, there are not many students who like to listen to lectures like you. If you want to listen, just listen. From now on, you will stand at the door, but you are not allowed to enter the classroom." "Okay," Ren Xiaosu responded. "Sir, I have a question." "Go ahead." Zhang Jinglin probably rarely smokes a cigarette, and now he doesn't mind anything Ren Xiaosu asks. "Sir, you said that humans had a lot of technology before the disaster, and we humans are not extinct, so why don't we see those technologies reappearing now?" Zhang Jinglin glanced at Ren Xiaosu. During the period after the disaster, humans themselves did not accurately calculate how many years everyone had been living in misery. It was good enough to survive every day. How could there be people studying? But we should have kept some information, right? Wouldn't it be possible to restore civilization quickly if we study it? Ren Xiaosu is curious. "It's discontinued," Zhang Jinglin said with some regret. "Let me ask you, if I give you a set of information on making airplanes, can you make one? I haven't learned it before. Although the information can save a lot of time, I also have to learn from scratch," Ren Xiaosu said. "Yes, everyone is learning from scratch now." Zhang Jinglin looked at his half-finished cigarette and felt a little distressed, as if he was hesitating whether to smoke it or not. He wanted to keep half of it and smoke it later, but wouldn't it be a bit embarrassing to do so in front of Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen? Ren Xiaosu is still confused. Did no one overcome the hardships and continue to study in those years? "No, they all starved to death," Zhang Jinglin said. "Is that all that knowledge now discontinued?" Ren Xiaosu was unwilling to accept it. Zhang Jinglin looked at Ren Xiaosu seriously this time and said meaningfully, "They are in the hands of a few people." "Okay," Zhang Jinglin stood up and said, "Don't ask about this, it's time to go to class." Ren Xiaosu pestered Zhang Jinglin with one last question. "Sir, when was the wall of our refuge built, and why did we build this wall?" After the disaster, wild beasts were rampant. It is said that there was a swarm of insects a long time ago, and humans had no choice but to build a high wall to block the danger, Zhang Jinglin explained. "But most wild beasts will not actively attack humans even if they evolve." Ren Xiaosu is curious. "Monkeys are still vegetarians, and sparrows still love to eat grains. They don't actively eat people." Now the number 113 refuge barrier is in the circle of human survival, and most of the more ferocious wild beasts are actually excluded from the circle. The higher the serial number of the refuge barrier, the more dangerous it is. For example, the legendary number 178 refuge barrier has caused many deaths and injuries every year due to the expulsion of wild beasts. The number 113 refuge barrier is actually considered the inland. There are still many dangers, such as wolves, but they are not insurmountable. In this case, why is there a high wall in such a large human settlement? Zhang Jinglin smiled and said, "As long as there are dangers in the wild, the refugees can only rely on the refuge barriers to survive. At this time, the refuge barriers will have a large number of cheap laborers. Do you think the financial groups behind the refuge barriers don't have the strength to completely eliminate the dangers in the wild? Human thermal weapons are more powerful than you think, but why should they eliminate them? They can't threaten them." Ren Xiaosu fell into deep thought when he heard this. Although he was precocious, there were some things he had never come into contact with, so he was destined not to understand them. This was also the reason why he was eager for knowledge. Zhang Jinglin continued, They won't tear down the wall. How could the vested interests inside the wall give up this natural class barrier? As he spoke, Zhang Jinglin went to change his clothes. Ren Xiaosu asked curiously, "Sir, why are you changing your clothes? The clothes you wore just now weren't dirty." Zhang Jinglin adjusted his collar and said, "The clothes I wore just now smelled of cigarettes. It's not good for the students to smell it." Yan Liwen stood in awe, but Ren Xiaosu suddenly became a little unhappy. "Then it's okay for me to smell it? Sir, you didn't ask me to stay away just now." Zhang Jinglin thought for a long time and said, "Get lost." At this time, Ren Xiaosu suddenly heard the palace in his mind speak again. "Task, it's never a bad thing to desire knowledge, but what you learn, you have to teach others." Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. He just didn't understand what this task was for him to do. During the afternoon class, the students felt very fresh. Standing outside the door was Ren Xiaosu, who was several years older than them, so many students turned back to look at him. Zhang Jinglin knocked on the blackboard several times to quell the students' curiosity. He said, "We will have a survival class this afternoon. This is the uniqueness of the school in this era. It not only teaches liberal arts and science, but also survival." However, this class has always been a headache for Zhang Jinglin, because he is really not very good at survival in the wild. So most of the time he can only recite from the materials he has preserved in the past. Zhang Jinglin looked at the students in the classroom. "Pay attention to the lecture, don't think that danger is far away from you. Now you have your parents to protect you, and when you become an adult, you must learn to protect yourself. Today we will talk about what to do if you encounter a wolf pack in the wild." In fact, the students in the audience like to listen to survival classes the most. Other courses are still too boring for their age. Survival classes sound interesting. At this time, the classroom was completely silent. Zhang Jinglin looked at Ren Xiaosu, who was standing by the door and listening to the lecture. "Come on, tell me, what should we do if we encounter a pack of wolves in the wild?" Ren Xiaosu thought for a moment and said, "We should try to choose a hillside with trees all around, because this is a better choice for cemetery feng shui." Zhang Jinglin. Chapter 7 Substitute Teacher. When Zhang Jinglin was speechless about Ren Xiaosu's answer, he didn't know that Ren Xiaosu himself was also confused. Didn't he teach everyone what he knew? Why hasn't the task been completed? Is there something wrong with the knowledge he taught? "Sir," Ren Xiaosu said seriously, "you probably haven't seen how big the wild wolves are outside now. Even many people in the market town have never seen or dealt with them, but I have seen them. Let alone encountering a wolf pack. Even if you encounter a lone wolf, just choose the cemetery directly." Originally, Ren Xiaosu thought that Zhang Jinglin would refute him. After all, what he said would affect his authority and majesty. However, Zhang Jinglin thought for a long time and suddenly said, "You can sit in the classroom and take classes in the future, and you will teach the survival class." For the first time, the market town school outside the number 113 refuge barrier had a substitute teacher. However, Ren Xiaosu did not explain in class how he survived since he had seen lone wolves and even wolf packs. Task completed, reward 1.0 strength. Until a day passed, Ren Xiaosu did not find an opportunity to use the basic skills learning map. He went to the school because he liked to absorb knowledge, but Zhang Jinglin's knowledge was not of much help to his survival for the time being. Ren Xiaosu's priority now was still survival. Therefore, if the map could not be used, there would be no way to verify whether everything in his mind was from his own fantasy. However, Ren Xiaosu had been waiting, because he felt that there would be another task. Now he had completed another task and gained 1.0 strength. This was a very intuitive number, and Ren Xiaosu's feeling about his body was even more intuitive. Because he could even feel that the muscles covered by his clothes had a slight bulge. This was a real supernatural phenomenon. No one could suddenly gain extra muscle strength in just 0.1 seconds. Now Ren Xiaosu was really sure that the palace in his mind was indeed a unique ability. This incident made Ren Xiaosu feel ecstatic. In fact, he should have been happy a long time ago, but he was afraid that it was fake. A person who hunts frequently must be very familiar with his body. You need to know how much weight you can carry, and you also need to know how fast and fierce you can punch or draw your knife. So Ren Xiaosu immediately evaluated his new strength. If a normal adult man is 3.0, then Ren Xiaosu's previous strength was 2.5. He was only 17 years old, and it was normal for him to be weaker than an adult. He survived in the market town these years not because he was strong, but because he was ruthless, alert and calm enough. Now his strength exceeds that of a normal adult, which means that his chances of survival in this wasteland are greater. When going home from school, Yan Liwen said excitedly, "Brother, you are a substitute teacher now. Maybe you can replace Mr. Zhang as the teacher in our town in the future." Ren Xiaosu hesitated. It seems to be true. Mr. Zhang was also a substitute teacher at the beginning. Later, he took over the school after the old gentleman died. Yes, everyone in our town knows that whoever becomes a substitute teacher may become the teacher in the school in the future. Think about it, Mr. Zhang lets you go to the school to teach and makes you a substitute teacher. He must want to choose you to replace him in the future. Yan Liwen smiled and said, "If everyone in the town knew about this, they will be a little more polite to us in the future." That's not the case. Ren Xiaosu thought for a while and said, "I guess he may just be short of cigarettes." Yan Liwen looked at Ren Xiaosu. "Brother, are you serious?" "Actually, it would be nice to be a teacher in this school," Ren Xiaosu said. "When I become a teacher, I will pass the position to you. Then you will become a teacher in this school, right?" For Ren Xiaosu, he had never thought about going to school to be a teacher in the future. It was not that he looked down on this profession. If he did, he would not give it to Yan Liwen. But he felt that he was not suitable for this kind of job at all. If he really had no chance to enter the refuge barrier in the future, then the wilderness would be his place. As Ren Xiaosu walked, he fantasized about the future of giving the school teacher to Yan Liwen, but he did not notice that Yan Liwen slowly stopped. Yan Liwen looked at Ren Xiaosu's back and felt an indescribable feeling. This boy with a wound on his hand, although he was mean, always wanted to leave his best things for himself. Ren Xiaosu looked back and found that Yan Liwen was far behind, so he said unhappily, "What are you doing? Catch up. Here we come." The chimneys of the factories outside the barrier were emitting white smoke, and the setting sun was reflected on the backs of the two people, as if there were no worries in life. Horizontal ellipsis. On the way home, Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen suddenly saw the group of people coming out of the refuge fortress. There were about 13 or 14 people. Half of them were wearing colorful and strange clothes, and the other half were wearing the mercenary combat uniforms of the ruler of the number 113 barrier. It seemed that there were soldiers accompanying them on this trip. No wonder they dared to go to a place like Jingshan. These people didn't actually need the guide to have any martial arts value. They just needed to know the way. However, Ren Xiaosu didn't think that the private mercenaries of the ruler of the number 113 refuge fortress must be very powerful. In fact, he rarely saw these mercenaries coming out. It was questionable whether these people had ever fought in actual combat or even seen blood. At this time, Ren Xiaosu saw that the mercenaries were smoking cigarettes with filters. This kind of cigarette with filters was rarely seen in the market town. There was only a faint smell of smoke, and Ren Xiaosu clearly smelled a strange smell in it, which reminded him of what Lao Wang said, that many cigarettes in the factory were added with addictive drugs, which could make people excited. Ren Xiaosu was puzzled. Mercenaries, who need to keep their heads clear, actually smoke this kind of stuff. He had seen some people go crazy after smoking, and these mercenaries just smoked more advanced ones. Some people gradually gathered in the market town to watch, because these people had clean faces, which formed a sharp contrast with the people in the market town. "Brother, is there enough water in the refuge fortress? Can I wash my face every day?" Yan Liwen blinked his bright eyes. "Don't be envious. The oil on our faces can protect our skin." Ren Xiaosu comforted him half-heartedly. But he suddenly saw a unique existence in the group of people. A woman, wearing a peaked cap, the brim of the hat was pressed down so low that her age could not be determined, and she was wearing relatively normal clothes, loose but fit. Ren Xiaosu paid attention to her because seeing her was like encountering a wild beast in the wilderness. There was something wrong with this group of people, and Ren Xiaosu believed in his intuition. Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen stopped to watch from a distance, vaguely understanding that this group of people were asking Lao Wang, who collected sparrows in the grocery store, about something. All I heard was the loud-voiced old Wang saying, "If you want to go to Jingshan, you must find that kid Ren Xiaosu. You will definitely not be able to get through without him. And there are wolves in the wilderness outside. I suggest you not to go through Jingshan." A mercenary sneered, "The wolves will be scared away when they hear gunshots. Do we need to worry about them?" Ren Xiaosu is stunned. So wolves are afraid of gunshots? Maybe this is the nature of wild beasts. He has never seen hot weapons, so he is not sure if the other party is right, but he is still a little suspicious. Another mercenary asked, "Who is Ren Xiaosu? We don't need him to have any special skills, just know the way." "Oh, Ren Xiaosu is a famous hunter in our town. He knows most of the roads. There's nothing wrong with finding him," Lao Wang said with a smile. "You can go right by finding him, but this kid has a little problem with his brain." Hearing this, Ren Xiaosu turned around and left with Yan Liuan. "Is Lao Wang's son also in your class, the fat boy?" Yan Liuan took a breath. "Brother, don't let the disaster affect your family." Ren Xiaosu frowned. He originally wanted to stay away from this matter, but he didn't expect Lao Wang to recommend him to this inexplicable band. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8. The brain is really sick. As night fell, people in the market town returned to their homes. Those who had houses would close their doors tightly, and those who lived in shacks would cover their door curtains tightly. When Ren Xiaosu came back at night, he also heard that a man who was working from the rubber factory was stabbed to death at night. It is said that someone learned that the man had the habit of saving money and became malicious. People in the market town like to live together. Friends, brothers, and lovers live together and take turns to watch the night. It seems that this is safer. Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liuan got together in this way at the beginning. However, there are still some people who are actually harmed by the people they live with. Perpetrators are usually short-sighted. What they don't know is that after they harm their companions, no one will believe them anymore. Perpetrators who become lonely usually have no good end. Ren Xiaosu sat in his shack and untied the cloth bandaging the wound on his hand. When he saw the condition of the wound, he frowned. There was redness and swelling around the wound, which was a sign of inflammation. He looked up and saw Yan Liuan coming over, so he quickly covered the cloth again. "Brother, is your wound okay?" Yan Liuan asked. "It's okay," Ren Xiaosu said calmly. "I don't believe it, let me see," Yan Liuan said as he was about to untie the cloth Ren Xiaosu had wrapped again. "If I say it's okay, then it's okay," Ren Xiaosu pushed Yan Liuan away. "If there's anything wrong, I'll go buy medicine." "Don't lie to me, you just wanted to hold on last time," Yan Liuan said aggrievedly. Ren Xiaosu sighed. "Don't worry, I won't joke with my life." In the animal world, wild beasts usually don't hunt easily, because they all understand one thing: being injured may lead to death, even if it's a minor injury. If wild beasts understand this, how could Ren Xiaosu not understand? "Hey, brother, look, there are 2 potatoes and 3 pills hidden under the chair. Are these the anti-inflammatory drugs you wanted to buy today?" "They look the same," Yan Liuan said in surprise. "Did you put them there?" "Not by me." Ren Xiaosu shook his head and looked at the 3 pills. "They are indeed ordinary anti-inflammatory drugs." "Then it was Sister Xiaoyu who put them there." "I only told her that you were injured." Yan Liuan handed one to Ren Xiaosu with a smile. "Sister Xiaoyu is so good to you, why don't you just give in to her?" Ren Xiaosu almost vomited blood. "You change your face faster than turning the pages of a book. You praise people when they have food and bully people when they don't have food." Yan Liuan grunted and started eating potatoes. The 2 of them usually didn't eat at night. Ren Xiaosu said that they should eat well in the morning and eat enough at noon. Eating at night is not good for the body. This is a saying that has been passed down since before the disaster. In fact, Ren Xiaosu knows that people who don't eat at night these days are still poor. "Brother." Ren Xiaosu turned his head and suddenly saw Yan Liuan lowering his head. His voice was a little low. He asked curiously, "What's wrong? Do you still remember that last year when you encountered a pack of wolves and someone secretly gave us a few pills to keep you alive?" Yan Liuan asked. "I remember, I've been looking for this person," Ren Xiaosu said. "Those pills may also be sent by Sister Xiaoyu," Yan Liuan said. "The place where the pills were placed at that time is exactly the same as today." Pills. Ren Xiaosu fell into deep thought. Suddenly, Ren Xiaosu heard footsteps outside. A lot of people. It was rare to see people walking like this on the streets of the market town at night, but Ren Xiaosu quickly guessed who the other party was and the purpose. Horizontal ellipsis. The band had to cross Jingshan this time because, as Ren Xiaosu expected, the mercenaries did have other tasks. For example, the ruler of the number 113 fortress found some information proving that Jingshan was actually a mountain range formed after the violent movement of the Earth's crust. There might be some things left before the disaster. They learned about Ren Xiaosu from the grocery store owner, Lao Wang. Although they had doubts about his brain disease, they asked some people and it seemed that everyone thought that Ren Xiaosu was the best candidate for their guide. Some people even wondered what was so special about this boy named Ren Xiaosu that he was a celebrity in the market town. Out of curiosity, they kept asking questions and finally got a not-so-certain answer. Ren Xiaosu seemed to be the only person in the number 113 market town who had encountered a wolf pack and still came back alive. When Ren Xiaosu returned to the market town after hunting last year, he was already exhausted and there were blood marks on his body from the wolf's claws. No matter how vicious the people in the market town were, they would not do anything to a dying boy. Everyone just watched coldly. But just when everyone thought that Ren Xiaosu was doomed, he survived and is still alive and well. The band members curiously asked how the boy survived. Old Wang smiled and said that it was all thanks to Yan Liwen, who knelt down from house to beg for food, and he really survived. It seems that someone also sent a few pills, but no one knows who sent them. It's just that everyone in the market town knows that Ren Xiaosu survived, but he has been sick in the brain since then. By the way, Wang Fuge, someone in the team said to old Wang who was accompanying him, "What do you mean when you say he has a brain disease?" "It's okay, I just said it casually," old Wang said with a smile, and the wrinkles on his face were squeezed together. "It's okay, his disease is not serious. Look, it's just ahead." Old Wang dared to go out on the street at night only when he followed these nobles who came out of the refuge barrier. At this time, he deliberately raised his voice, as if he wanted to let everyone in the market town know that he, old Wang, had a very good relationship with these nobles in the refuge barrier. "Xiaosu, come out quickly, there are guests," Lao Wang shouted with a smile. Suddenly, the curtain of the shack was lifted. Ren Xiaosu happily held Lao Wang's hand and said to him, "Congratulations, father and son are safe." 6.6 Jin. Lao Wang. Band. Mercenary. The band staff pointed at Ren Xiaosu and looked at Lao Wang. "He is so sick and you still say he is fine?" Exclamation mark. "And what is the father and son safe? Isn't the mother and son safe?" Exclamation mark. The band staff said unhappily, "Wang Fuge, do you know what the consequences are of lying to us? Is this what you said is fine?" As soon as the voice fell, the band staff turned around and left. They had some expectations for the legendary Ren Xiaosu just now, but now they met a mental patient. No wonder people in the market town said that Ren Xiaosu had a problem with his brain. Isn't this a problem? Chapter 9. If you don't understand something, just ask. Ren Xiaosu stood at the door of the shack and watched the band go away. Lao Wang was still apologizing to the other party. "Although Ren Xiaosu is mentally ill, it is not this kind. Let me explain." The band staff was too lazy to listen to his explanation. "Wang Fuge, I give you 6 hours to find a suitable candidate for me. Even if this guy is not sick, we don't need him. We will set off at dawn. Don't make trouble for us." Ren Xiaosu stood happily at the door of the shack and watched the fun like nothing happened. However, at this time, the girl with a baseball cap turned back and looked at Ren Xiaosu. Ren Xiaosu immediately felt like he was seen through. He didn't even see the expression under the other person's baseball cap, but he felt inexplicably palpitating. Ren Xiaosu subconsciously used his own learning skill map. A voice came from the palace, "Will randomly learn the target skill. Randomly learn. The opponent's firearm skill has been randomly drawn. Do you want to learn it? Learn." Ren Xiaosu saw that the learning map was gone at this time, and it would be useless if he didn't learn it. Learning success. You have learned advanced firearms proficiency. Wait, didn't I get a basic level map? Why can I learn advanced firearms proficiency? Shouldn't I learn the basic level? Ren Xiaosu asked curiously in his mind. There are only 2 types of skill maps for learning skills. The first type of map, basic level, can directly learn any skill below the advanced level. The second type of map, master level, can learn other people's master level skills, and there is a chance to learn the target's supernatural abilities, the voice in the palace answered. Ren Xiaosu is stunned. Other people's supernatural abilities can also be learned? Exclamation mark. At this time, He thought of the girl and suddenly asked, "Can you tell me the girl's firearms proficiency skill level? I can tell you if I have learned from the target." "What level is her firearms proficiency, Master?" "Perfect. Dot. Basic level learning maps can randomly learn the target's skills below the advanced level, while master level maps can learn the other party's master level skills on the basis of their own advanced skills, and even learn the other party's supernatural abilities. This level is completely determined by the palace." Although the palace said that there is a certain probability to succeed, Ren Xiaosu was a little excited when he thought about being able to learn other people's supernatural abilities. Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen had discussed one thing before: are there also high and low levels of supernatural abilities? Some people are born to be better at fighting, and some are born to be weaker. People like Ren Xiaosu who need to survive in the wild certainly think that supernatural abilities that can fight are more powerful, and Yan Liwen has the attribute of luck, so he can't fight, so he insists that supernatural abilities are just different in use. There is no high or low. But now, how high or low is an ability that can copy other people's abilities? Exclamation mark. However, Ren Xiaosu is thinking more about the girl in the peaked cap just now. When receiving advanced firearm skills, a lot of firearms knowledge flooded into Ren Xiaosu's mind, which was like a direct enlightenment that was integrated into his instincts. He not only mastered the knowledge of various firearms models, disassembly, maintenance, and use, but also the almost instinctive aiming of various firearms. Ren Xiaosu even knew how much recoil each gun had. If he was given a gun now, as long as his advanced gun skills covered it, he would be like a veteran who had practiced guns for 10 years, without any difference. In terms of accuracy, a score of more than 95 rings within 100 meters seemed to be the standard for advanced gun skills. These surprised Ren Xiaosu a little, but he was not ecstatic. After all, he didn't have a gun in his hand now. What shocked him even more was that the palace in his mind evaluated the girl's gun skills as perfect. Ren Xiaosu couldn't imagine how powerful a master would be, let alone perfect. Such a person would be in a band? It seemed that the mercenaries and band staff didn't know that there was such a terrifying existence. In his own team, Ren Xiaosu had discovered before that everyone just treated her as an ordinary staff member. The girl probably didn't expect that Ren Xiaosu had obtained her secret in a mysterious way. It was indeed a wise decision for him to find a way not to participate in this team. Ren Xiaosu felt the pleasure of knowing other people's secrets. "Brother, why are you always staring at people's backs?" Yan Liwen asked as he popped his head out of the shack. Ren Xiaosu immediately lost his joyful mood. He turned around to look at Yan Liwen. Just when he was about to establish his authority as a brother, the curtain of the shack next door was lifted, and a female voice asked, "Whose back is it? Where is it?" At this time, Yan Liwen and Ren Xiaosu were both stunned. The person who came out of the shack next door turned out to be Xiaoyu. Yan Liwen asked curiously, "Sister Xiaoyu, why are you in the shack next door?" Xiaoyu stroked her hair and smiled, "I will move here and live with you guys in the future." "Where are the 3 people who used to live here?" Yan Liwen asked. "Where did they go?" "I exchanged my residence with them," Xiaoyu explained. Yan Liwen pulled Ren Xiaosu and lowered his voice and said, "Brother, Sister Xiaoyu has spent a lot of money. She used to live in a brick house." Ren Xiaosu did not say anything, but lowered his head and went into the shack. Yan Liwen smiled at Xiaoyu and then retracted his head. "Brother, you are still a virgin, right?" Yan Liwen asked. Ren Xiaosu stared at Yan Liwen. "Liwen, you are not young anymore. I want to talk to you about education issues in this area." Yan Liwen immediately sat up straight and became serious. "Okay, brother, if you don't understand anything, just ask." Before he finished speaking, Yan Liwen was kicked down by Ren Xiaosu, but Yan Liwen was not angry, and kept laughing. "You are really capable." Ren Xiaosu made the bed. "Try not to provoke your sister Xiaoyu, and don't mess with any red lines. We can't even settle down in this situation, so how can we care about others?" "Oh," Yan Liwen agreed with a low eyebrow, "but they have given us potatoes and medicine, and they care about you so much, are you really going to ignore them?" Ren Xiaosu thought for a while. The most important thing for a person is to do things openly and have a clear conscience, but if you feel guilty, convince yourself not to have it. Yan Liwen. When Yan Liwen heard the first half of the sentence, he looked like he was listening to a lesson, but he was confused when he heard the second half. Maybe, this is Ren Xiaosu. In this era, People like Ren Xiaosu might live a better life. But Yan Liwen didn't mind what kind of person Ren Xiaosu was. Now every bit of Ren Xiaosu's fussing and cautiousness is a lesson and growth left by every scar in the past. But Yan Liwen also knew that Ren Xiaosu had something else to say in his heart. Thank you Yan Li for being the first leader of this book. Thank you Huan Yu for being the first silver ally of this book. Thank you Tong Tang for being the silver ally. Thank you Yu Xiao Yu for being the leader. Love you all. Chapter 10 Branch. At this moment, a rough voice came from outside the shack. It was addressed to the new neighbor Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu, I went to your place tonight to find you and found out that you moved here. I brought you some cigarettes. Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen looked at each other and frowned. Xiaoyu said, I won't do that kind of thing in the future. Haha, the owner of the rough voice seemed to have heard something funny. What will you eat and drink if you don't do that kind of thing? Who will give you cigarettes in the future? Let me go. Xiaoyu's voice was filled with anger. The two sides seemed to have a physical conflict. There was a tearing sound, and it seemed that someone's clothes were torn. Yan Liwen looked at Ren Xiaosu, but Ren Xiaosu was still frowning. He whispered, Brother, help her. Ren Xiaosu stood up, untied his bone knife from his calf, and walked out of the shack holding it upside down. At this moment, in the palace in Ren Xiaosu's mind, the keys of the brass typewriter were tapping one by one, and while the words were forming on the craft paper, a voice came from the magnificent palace, Task, help. He interrupted the palace with a sneer in his mind and said, I would help even if you didn't have this task. It took only 1 or 2 seconds from the time Ren Xiaosu went out with a knife to the time he rushed to the man. Ren Xiaosu did not say any threatening words such as let her go or try to move again, because he knew that all unnecessary actions would lead to failure. All he had to do was to solve the simplest problem in the simplest way. When Ren Xiaosu's slender but strong figure rushed towards the man like a cheetah, the man quickly pulled out his knife from his waist and slashed at him. Everyone in this market town carried a weapon for self-defense. The man's mind was filled with ridicule, because he was almost a head taller than Ren Xiaosu, and what he held in his hand was real iron, not a bone knife. However, the next moment, his ridicule stopped abruptly. It is common sense that iron is worse than bone knives, even though the bones of wild beasts are stronger than steel. But stronger than steel is not as good as steel after all. Cold weapons are not banned in the market town, but it is difficult to get a good iron weapon. Although some industries are slowly catching up with the level before the disaster, resources are limited. When Ren Xiaosu came to the man like a shadow, he ran from his left foot to the ground. The muscles of his right leg that supported his whole body weight suddenly tightened, and his foot firmly grasped the ground. The power of his whole body started from the ground, and it was quickly transmitted to his waist and abdomen like an electric current, and then to his arms. Ren Xiaosu's knife, like a gully on the ground, cut a crack in the night diagonally upwards. With a click, the bone knife and the iron tool collided with each other. The people who were secretly watching saw that the two knives were broken into 2 pieces at the same time. They originally thought that only the bone knife would break. In an instant, while the man was stunned, Ren Xiaosu had already thrown away the bone knife without any regrets. This action of throwing away was done in one go, as if Ren Xiaosu had known that the bone knife would break, so he had other plans from the beginning. He grabbed the man's wrist and smashed his other fist into the opponent's axillary nerve like a cannon hammer. The man wanted to break free, but he suddenly realized that the boy was much stronger than him. How is it possible? How old is the other party? The boy is only as tall as his neck. But the man saw that the muscles and bones on Ren Xiaosu's neck were like steel. That was strength. The axillary nerve is about 3 inches away from the upper arm and the armpit. It doesn't need to be too precise, because the fist is enough to cover the deviation. This place is one of the human body's weaknesses. When the axillary nerve is hit hard, it will be dislocated. If the nerve is compared to a cable, then this dislocation will cause the axillary nerve to generate current and uncontrolled release of electrical signals. At this time, the receptors in the brain will send out pain information after being overloaded, and the limbs will receive chaotic signals when the neural circuit is overloaded. The body began to secrete a large amount of calcium and potassium, and a storm of electric charge was enough to temporarily paralyze the entire system. The man fell to the ground with a cry of pain, and even had convulsions in his limbs. By the time he understood what was going on, he had no ability to fight against Ren Xiaosu. Ren Xiaosu stood quietly beside him, seemingly thinking about something. The man panted for a while and begged for mercy. I don't bear grudges. If you let me go, I will forget what happened today. At this time, smart people know that they have become fish on the chopping board. The most important thing he should do is not to continue to shout arrogantly, but to leave it for later. Ren Xiaosu looked at Xiaoyu. Who is he? He is a foreman at a coal mine. He was the leader of the person who was stabbed to death in the market town last night. Because he heard that the man had the habit of saving money, and he happened to owe money to the casino, so he had evil intentions, Xiaoyu said what the man boasted about yesterday. Ren Xiaosu walked to the road to pick up the man's ironware, and then walked back to the man, looking down at him from above. He calculated the time, and at most 4 or 5 seconds would pass before the other party could resume action. Suddenly, the palace, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly spoke again. Mission, give the enemy a way out. But as soon as the palace finished speaking, Ren Xiaosu squatted down and handed the iron weapon into the man's abdomen. The sound of the sharp weapon tearing leather made all the bystanders or eavesdroppers tingle, and then the man's blood began to flow out. You have about 3 minutes now. If you go to the clinic in the market town for sutures in time, you may still have a chance to survive, Ren Xiaosu said calmly. The man didn't care about the pain after hearing this. He immediately stood up and ran to the clinic without saying anything. Mission completed, reward basic level learning map. Mission completed, reward basic level learning map. Because you lack weapons, a special branch mission is opened. Ren Xiaosu was stunned before he finished listening. The first mission should be to save Xiaoyu. He could understand that he had completed this, but he didn't expect that he had also completed the second one. How did this palace judge it? Exclamation mark. Yan Liwen asked curiously, Brother, are you just going to let him go? What if he goes to the clinic to get his wounds stitched up and recovers, and then seeks revenge on you? He's not a good person. Ren Xiaosu looked at the night sky and said, that crappy clinic in our market town doesn't know how to stitch shit. Brother, I feel relieved to see you're so ruthless. Because of this, Ren Xiaosu sighed that this could be considered as completing his mission. This man was actually dead for sure. And even if he didn't die, the iron tool was covered in rust, and it was simply a magical tool that could kill a person with one cut. If he survived, he would be useless. Although the man had iron tools, he could only get the cheapest ones. If not, Ren Xiaosu might not have been able to break the iron knife. People like Ren Xiaosu only have their own firm principles in their hearts. Even if they have supernatural powers, they can't change the way they deal with people. If they want to change, they have to do it themselves, not others. Therefore, the judgment of whether the mission is completed or not is not strict. What the palace cares about is just the attitude shown by Ren Xiaosu. At this time, people were whispering in the shacks on the roadside. In fact, they had known what kind of ruthless person Ren Xiaosu was over the years, but they were shocked again today. Because the two sides were too different in size today, and the strength displayed by Ren Xiaosu was not inferior to that man at all, and even surpassed the other party. This was quite incredible. Someone in the shack muttered quietly, I told you not to mess with him. Ren Xiaosu went to pick up his bone knife. This bone knife had accompanied him for more than a year and finally died. He turned his head to look at Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu was a little weak in the night. In fact, Xiaoyu was 8 years older than Ren Xiaosu, but at this time she looked like she was 8 years younger than Ren Xiaosu. Ren Xiaosu simply said directly, can you quit smoking? Xiaoyu nodded vigorously. That thing isn't that addictive. It's probably just some poppy shells added. Lao Wang said the proportion of the additives is very low, so you can still quit if you want to, Ren Xiaosu said as he walked to the door of Xiaoyu's shack, squatted down, and fiercely inserted half of his white bone knife into the soil, leaving only a small part exposed. Some people on the roadside who had some bad ideas about Xiaoyu were immediately deflated. In the market town, this half-bone knife was like a symbol of will, and no one wanted to offend this ruthless Ren Xiaosu. Ren Xiaosu turned to Xiaoyu and said, but I have something to say in advance. Although I am very handsome, but it is impossible for us. Xiaoyu's expression was stunned for a moment. I just treat you as my younger brother. Now it was Ren Xiaosu's turn to be stunned. Ha 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 ha, so embarrassing. Ren Xiaosu immediately took Yan Liwen to his own shack, and glared at Yan Liwen as he walked. It was you who kept talking nonsense every day. Yan Liwen secretly turned back and blinked at Xiaoyu. Xiao smiled when she saw Yan Liu's expression, and it seemed that all the bad moods disappeared. She squatted on the ground and looked at the half-broken bone knife for a long time before she went back to sleep with a smile on her face. Ren Xiaosu, on the other hand, closed his eyes and carefully looked inside the palace and the words that had just been typed out by the typewriter. Side quests, quite interesting. Thanks to you Fu Io, I just don't want to call you book friends, Alpaca Xiao Xiongsu, Carol's big cousin, and Mo Chen Kuang for becoming the new leaders of this book. 10 chapters were released today. Due to the new book period, 2 chapters will be updated every day at 6 o'clock in the evening. The minimum guarantee for the release of the book is also 10 chapters. Thank you for your support. I'm back. Chapter 11 Rounding off to 100 million. 2 basic learning maps. These things are very useful. Ren Xiaosu is a person who is eager for knowledge. With one learning map, he can learn other people's ready-made experience. Ren Xiaosu regards them as treasures. Although he learns skills randomly, he may learn useless skills, but he has already tasted the sweetness of learning advanced firearm skills. However, what attracted Ren Xiaosu to the palace was not the 2 learning maps, but the side quest mentioned by the palace at the end. Since it is a side quest, it should be unimportant or short-lived. However, Ren Xiaosu clearly heard the palace say, because you lack weapons, special. So this quest is related to weapons, right? Ren Xiaosu, who has been wandering in the wilderness for many years, knows the importance of a good weapon. Before, Lao Wang received a steel knife and wanted to sell it to Ren Xiaosu, but Ren Xiaosu didn't have enough money to save for half a year. Finally, Lao Wang sold the knife to the manager of the chemical plant. The factory manager was usually the leader selected by the refugee barrier from the refugees. He was the one who drank soup while the refugee barrier ate meat. At that time, Ren Xiaosu was thinking, if only he could have a good weapon someday, then he wouldn't have to lie in the wilderness every day waiting for sparrows. That thing was really getting harder and harder to wait for, and it was exhausting. By then, he could go hunt some other wild animals, such as rabbits, field mice, bamboo rats, etc. Now, even rabbits are considered wild animals. Rabbits in the wilderness will not attack people, but rabbits that are as tall as a person's calf are very strong. Ren Xiaosu once dug a trap, but the pit he dug was more than 2 meters deep. The rabbit really fell into it. However, as soon as Ren Xiaosu approached, the rabbit kicked up and kicked Ren Xiaosu on the forehead in midair, almost causing a brain congestion. Ren Xiaosu looked at the brown paper on the typewriter. Because you lack weapons, a side quest is opened. Get 100 sincere thanks to unlock weapons. You can also use thanks to exchange for items. Ren Xiaosu's face became strange. Why does this side quest feel weird? Collect thanks? And you have to be sincere. It's easy to collect thanks, but the problem is that it's difficult to be sincere. And thanks can be used as currency? The key is what can be used to buy. He continued to look at the brown paper page, and suddenly saw some text refreshed from time to time. Thanks from Li Xianwu, +1. It seems that I didn't save an ungrateful person. Ren Xiaosu sighed. The judgment of this palace should not be wrong. At this time, there was another line of small words on the brown paper, unlocking weapons. 1/100. Ren Xiaosu felt a little pity. If it were to collect negative emotion points, it would be great. He could raise the negative emotion points of the whole town in a few minutes. But he would use whatever the palace gave him. Ren Xiaosu was already looking forward to his future weapons. The things given by this mysterious palace must be good. Ren Xiaosu suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Yan Liuan. Liuan, say thank you to me. Yan Liuan looked confused. Brother, don't be like this, I'm a little scared. Scared of shit, Ren Xiaosu said unhappily. Hurry up and say it. Yan Liuan thought for a while and said, thank you for taking care of me all the time. Thanks from Yan Liuan, +1. Ren Xiaosu smiled. Is it so easy? Come on, say thank you a few more times, Ren Xiaosu said. Yan Liuan was speechless. Thank you. This time Ren Xiaosu was disappointed. It seemed that he couldn't repeat the trick. The key was still the word sincerity. He looked up at Yan Liuan with dissatisfaction. You are not sincere. No, your emotions are not right. Try again. Still not right. You should brew your emotions first. Come on. Yes, that's the expression. Try again. Sincerity will work. Try again. This time, your voice should have some emotions. Yan Liwen almost collapsed at that time. He said dryly, "Brother, is this your ability? Your ability is a bit straining on your throat." That night, Ren Xiaosu tried to use Yan Liwen for half a night, but he only received one thank you. And this thank you turned into 2 coins. On the coin was engraved a heart, and on the reverse was a paragraph, "A grateful heart, thank you for being with me all my life, giving me the courage to be myself. A grateful heart, thank you for fate. Flowers bloom and fall, I will cherish them all the same." Ren Xiaosu smacked his lips. It was quite watery. At this time, the display cabinets around the palace that were originally shrouded in black fog changed. On the left side of the typewriter, the black fog of a cabinet finally dissipated, revealing the vending machine inside. Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a long time. He wondered what this thing was used for. It was the first time he had seen it. There was no such thing outside these days. But he understood the words on the vending machine, "Coin place." There were no options, only the place to put coins. There was no need to think about anything else. Just put the coin in. With a clang, the coin engraved with love fell into the machine. The machine started to rumble, and then a small bottle that was less than the size of a palm rolled out. Ren Xiaosu took it out and saw that there was only one word on the bottle, "Medicine." "No, you can at least tell me what disease this thing is for." Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a long time. After he opened his eyes, his mind moved, and the medicine bottle appeared in his hand. He changed his mind again, and the medicine bottle disappeared again. Yan Liwen was stunned by this scene. "Brother, are you performing magic?" Ren Xiaosu ignored him and decisively tore off the cloth used to bandage the wound, revealing the infected wound inside. The wound had been bruised for a long time, and tissue fluid had been continuously flowing out. Ren Xiaosu knew that if he did not take medicine in time, then fever and wound ulceration would be inevitable. Yan Liwen stood up and walked out immediately after seeing this scene. Ren Xiaosu held him back. "What are you doing?" "I'm going to buy you medicine," Yan Liwen said stubbornly. "No need." Ren Xiaosu picked up the medicine bottle, scooped out a little bit of the ointment inside with his index finger, and carefully applied it on his wound. The medicine bottle was not big and was very shallow. "I'm afraid it would only be enough for 3 doses. After applying the ointment, Ren Xiaosu regretted it a little. The ointment bottle only had the word medicine written on it. What if it was poison? However, what he was worried about did not happen. After applying the ointment on the wound, Ren Xiaosu immediately felt that the burning pain of the wound disappeared. The anti-inflammatory medicine that Sister Xiaoyu gave him was saved. Ren Xiaosu roughly estimated that if this bottle of ointment was used as an anti-inflammatory medicine, it would need to be taken for 3 consecutive days, but this ointment would take effect in one time. One anti-inflammatory medicine was 200 yuan, and the value of a bottle of ointment, rounded up to 100 million yuan. Ren Xiaosu suddenly turned his head to look at Yan Liwen and asked firmly, "Can you help me think about what I can do to quickly get others thanks?" Thanks to Sophia Rulebing for the Silver Alliance, and thanks to the headmaster who loves tea, Yufu Io, Guangzhou Omeo, Europe 7, Fireworks Intercity, Urbeo Angel, Fine Cigarettes, Funny Little Fairy, Yuming Xiao, Sick Out of Nowhere, Boy Wants to, Genoti 666 Cheyenne Luorong, Winter Turns the World Upside Down, 3 Lives Fate Royan, Sweeping the World, and Rarely Like to become the new alliance leader of this book. Thank you all. Chapter 12, Grateful Heart. Thank you. Ren Xiaosu is seriously discussing with Yan Liwen what to do to quickly gain gratitude. He was a very simple person, so when he realized how valuable this sincere gratitude was, he knew that he needed this gratitude. Although Yan Liwen felt that Ren Xiaosu used the word simple in the wrong place. "Brother, I think you can go out and do good things," Yan Liwen said. "Isn't it the most direct way to gain sincere gratitude, such as giving food to the hungry and water to the thirsty?" Ren Xiaosu's eyes glared. "Am I that kind of person? I gave them food and water. What do I eat and drink?" "What do you eat and drink?" Yan Liwen said with great sorrow. "Then brother, don't keep wanting sincere gratitude." "No," Ren Xiaosu denied Yan Liwen's statement. "There must be other ways." Ren Xiaosu knew a long time ago that this era has no kindness to humans, or it is difficult for humans to have any real kindness to humans. There used to be a beggar in the market town. There was a kind-hearted girl who would bring him some food every day. But later the girl got married and stopped sending food. The beggar chased the girl to her home and asked, "Why don't you send me food?" As a result, he was driven out. The girl's husband was not so kind. Originally, everyone thought that this was the end of the matter. The people in the market town even went to laugh at the beggar, wanting to see when he would starve to death. But that night, the beggar actually sneaked into the girl's house and killed the couple. Ren Xiaosu always felt that there was some truth in this matter, but he was still young at that time, and he only vaguely understood that he must be careful when sleeping at night. The next morning, there was a noise on the street. Ren Xiaosu got up and pulled open the door curtain to take a look. He was shocked to see that the band was walking out of the market town, and there was an acquaintance he knew. The man was also an old hunter in the market town, and he was very skilled. The other party was quite happy to follow the band staff, as if he had finally waited for the opportunity to meet the big shots in the barrier. In fact, many people in the market town started out this way. It seems that anything that the nobles in the refuge barrier reveal through their fingers can make them rich and powerful. The so-called rich and powerful is to open a grocery store like Wang Fuge. Ren Xiaosu had asked Wang Fuge before, why Wang Fuge always flattered people every time someone came out of the refuge barrier, and not all the people in the refuge barrier were nobles? Wang Fuge smiled mysteriously at the time and said, "There are indeed poor people and nobles in the refuge barrier. Maybe those who can enter and leave the refuge barrier freely must be nobles." According to Wang Fuge, it is also difficult for the poor in the refuge barrier to get out. The towering high wall not only blocks people outside, but also people inside. At this time, Wang Fuge was also following the band staff. When he passed by Ren Xiaosu, he kept glaring at him. Finally, he lowered his voice and said, "You are such an ungrateful little bastard. Your Uncle Wang recommended such a good job to you, but you didn't take it. You know, I heard from their staff that they wanted to find a good guide from the market town to bring him into the refuge barrier. They will be useful in the future." Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect this to be an opportunity. If he had known this, would he still refuse? Yes, because if he went in, Yan Liwen would definitely not be able to go in. How could he leave Yan Liwen alone outside? Yan Liwen whispered, "Brother, why don't you go talk to those people in the band? You are much better than that Lao Liu. He often comes back empty-handed after failing to catch prey, and he never dares to go too far from the town." "Don't talk nonsense," Ren Xiaosu frowned. It was impossible for him not to feel distressed and moved, but he had his decision. "Let's go, I'll take you to school." When Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen arrived at the classroom, Zhang Jinglin was already wiping the blackboard. He turned around and saw Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen and was almost scared. He saw that both of them had heavy dark circles under their eyes and looked like ghosts. "What are you two doing?" Zhang Jinglin hesitated. "My brother insisted." Yan Liwen explained. Before Yan Liwen could finish, Ren Xiaosu interrupted him by slapping him on the back of his head. Ren Xiaosu said, "Nothing, I just didn't sleep well." Oh, Zhang Jinglin didn't want to ask about Ren Xiaosu's personal affairs. He asked, "Have you thought about what to teach today? Today is your first day as a substitute teacher." "I have thought about it," Ren Xiaosu nodded. During the day, he sat in the classroom as a student, and in the last survival class in the afternoon, he became a substitute teacher in the school. When it came to the last class, Zhang Jinglin was worried about Ren Xiaosu because he didn't have much teaching experience, so he sat in the last row of the classroom to calm Ren Xiaosu. When Ren Xiaosu walked up to the podium, the class monitor immediately shouted, "Stand up." Then all the students shouted, "Hello, teacher." For the students, Ren Xiaosu himself was a special existence. Ren Xiaosu was their classmate, the oldest, and a celebrity in the town, so Ren Xiaosu's teaching them was full of novelty. At this time, Ren Xiaosu suddenly said, "Do you think it's hard for Mr. Zhang to teach you? You can sit down to attend class, but Mr. Zhang has to stand all day. In this situation, how can the students say it's not hard? Zhang Jinglin is still here, so they can only say it's hard." Ren Xiaosu then said, "Then should we thank Mr. Zhang?" "Yes," the students answered in unison. Yan Liwen's face changed drastically, and he shouted in his heart, "Here it comes." Ren Xiaosu nodded with satisfaction. "Then in the future, you don't need to say hello to the teacher in class, just say thank you teacher." Zhang Jinglin was confused the whole time, and had no idea what Ren Xiaosu was doing. "Come on, everyone sit down, let's try it again," Ren Xiaosu said with a smile. "Stand up." Thank you, teacher. The students said in unison again. As a result, Ren Xiaosu looked inside the typewriter in the palace, and his heart was full of regrets. None of these little bastards sincerely thanked the teacher. Is it so difficult to sincerely thank the gardener who teaches and educates people these days? Exclamation mark. No, I have to find another way. The first attempt failed. But for Ren Xiaosu, failure is not a rare thing. Being able to accept failure calmly is one of his greatest strengths. Ren Xiaosu has heard a saying before, 8 out of 10 things in life are not satisfactory. That is to say, out of 10 things in life, 89 of them are not satisfactory. But even so, can we not live our lives? No. Thank you Ahyunai for becoming the silver ally of this book. Thank you Jun Zhang, Kongjixing in the late period of past events, Halen Shijiangsing, Rare Like, Book Friend 2018 XXX 16031, Kayan, A Potato Flower, Sualazi, Gumigam, and Kiziji a classmate for becoming the new ally of this book. Thank you for your support. The update on the 16th will be around 1800 hours, and the update time in the future will be 1800 hours. Chapter 13 This is reality. After much thought, Ren Xiaosu thought that being a teacher would be the easiest to be thanked. However, he overlooked a problem. It was true that he was very studious and eager for knowledge, but that was because he grew up in a deformed environment. His lack of knowledge led to his desire for knowledge. The more you lack something, the more you desire it. However, what he desires, other students may not necessarily desire. These children who can go to school in this era basically have good family conditions and are blessed by their parents. After going to school for a few years, these children are most annoyed by the teacher, who asks them to recite texts and do homework. In their youth, students and teachers are actually natural enemies most of the time. Although Ren Xiaosu teaches their favorite survival class, the students' attitude towards him is not at all sincere gratitude. Ren Xiaosu thinks that maybe if he teaches more classes, the students will thank him, right? The town school was supposed to end at 4 p.m., and the refuge fortress started at 6 a.m., and the bell rang every 2 hours to tell the time. Under normal circumstances, Zhang Jinglin never stayed late. However, today, in order to get the students' gratitude, Ren Xiaosu almost gave away all his experience in surviving in the wild. This lecture lasted until 5 o'clock. It was already late autumn, and it was almost dark at 5 o'clock. The students looked at him eagerly, thinking that this grandson was too good at talking. At this time, Zhang Jinglin couldn't bear it anymore and went to the yard to chop a cabbage and cook. A student couldn't help it. Grandson. Teacher, if you don't end the get out of class, it will be dark, and the town will be unsafe. This student was a little afraid of the notoriously ruthless person in this market town, so he didn't dare to say harsh words in front of the ruthless person. Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment, thinking that it would be fine if he didn't thank him, but he actually planned to ask the teacher to end the get out of class. However, he was also a smart person who knew that safety was the first priority. So Ren Xiaosu looked at the sky and waved his hand helplessly. Class dismissed. Thank you, teacher. Thank you, teacher. The students swarmed out of the school. 2 of them thanked Ren Xiaosu for the word get out of class dismissed. They were really grateful. I will vomit if the get out of class doesn't end. Ren Xiaosu suddenly saw that there were actually 2 more thank you coins in his palace, and he was instantly overjoyed. He had no idea why the students were thanking him. He just thought that he had given a good lecture. Ren Xiaosu thought to himself, it seems that his hard work has not been in vain. After lecturing for such a long time, the students are still very grateful to him. Yan Liwen said with a dark face, can you please not keep the class after class in the future? Before Ren Xiaosu could speak, Zhang Jinglin walked in while eating with his meal. He said in a measured tone, Xiaosu, I know that although you love the education industry, it is really not good to keep the class after class for so long. Besides, what if you get tired? Ren Xiaosu was not going to do it. This was not about keeping the class after class, this was about the money, this was about the students' sincere gratitude. No, Ren Xiaosu said righteously, I am willing to dedicate my life to the cause of education. It's okay to talk for a while longer. Ahem. Zhang Jinglin was almost choked by Ren Xiaosu, but he was too lazy to say anything when he saw Ren Xiaosu's expression. Okay. The 2 students who thanked him didn't know how much disaster they had brought upon themselves by saying thank you to the teacher. There is an idiom that explains this phenomenon. Called misfortune comes from the mouth. On the way back, Yan Liwen was angry with Ren Xiaosu and ignored him. Originally, he could have gone to the market town with Ren Xiaosu after school, but it was all in vain. As a result, when passing by the pawn shop at the city gate, Yan Liwen suddenly pulled Ren Xiaosu's sleeve. He pointed at the pawn shop, and Ren Xiaosu actually saw Sister Xiaoyu inside, who seemed to be talking to the shopkeeper. Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen moved closer. They heard Xiaoyu say to the shopkeeper, "My earrings are very valuable. Can't you give me a little more?" The shopkeeper smiled frivolously and glanced at Xiaoyu. "Actually, you don't have to pawn them. Why bother?" He shut up before he finished speaking because he saw Ren Xiaosu walking towards the pawn shop. The incident last night had already spread throughout the town. Everyone knew that Li Xiaoyu and Ren Xiaosu were now very close. It's not that everyone will become fierce in an era of survival of the fittest. In fact, there are cowards and ruthless people in every era, and ruthless people usually live well. The shopkeeper is a coward. Cowards only dare to bully the weak and fear the strong. The person Ren Xiaosu killed last night was a famous ruthless person in the town, so Ren Xiaosu is now the ruthless one among the ruthless ones. The shopkeeper's eyes were erratic and he pretended to drink water. He was not sure if Ren Xiaosu heard what he said just now. Ren Xiaosu counted out 620 yuan from his pocket and stuffed it into Sister Xiaoyu's pocket. "You don't have to sell anything. This is the money for the 3 anti-inflammatory pills from last night." Li Xiaoyu has no source of income now, so she can only live off her savings, but Ren Xiaosu can't bear to see her suffer like this. Li Xiaoyu wanted to stuff the money into Ren Xiaosu's pocket, but Ren Xiaosu said, "I was going to buy medicine too, just take it. It's not that I don't want to accept your favor, but we don't have to be so polite in the future." Li Xiaoyu was stunned for a long time. "What do you mean?" Last year, Ren Xiaosu escaped from the mouth of a pack of wolves by chance, but he never told anyone how he escaped. It's just that after he came back, he was indeed alive because of the medicine Li Xiaoyu sent him. Without the antibiotics and anti-inflammatory drugs, he would have died long ago. So what he owed Li Xiaoyu was not a few pills, but a life. Ren Xiaosu said to Sister Xiaoyu seriously, "Don't worry, from now on, every time I eat meat, you will have a sip of soup." "Brother, you are not right," Yan Liwen said in a low voice. "Aren't they eating meat together? Why is it that he is drinking soup with you? Besides, there is no meat at home now." "Oh," Ren Xiaosu nodded and said to Sister Xiaoyu in a different way, "From now on, every time I drink soup, you will have a bowl to wash." Yan Liwen. Puff. The shopkeeper who was drinking water next to him spit it out. However, Li Xiaoyu didn't mind. "Okay, then I will wash the dishes and clothes for you in the future." When she said this, she didn't think about whether the water was enough. Anyway, she agreed first. The shopkeeper smacked his lips as he watched Ren Xiaosu and the other 3 leave. He turned to the shop assistant and said, "Don't mess with him, do you hear me?" As Ren Xiaosu and the others left, they suddenly heard a cry, "Doctor, please save my husband. We really can't survive without him." A middle-aged woman knelt on the ground at the door of the clinic and kowtowed to the only doctor in the town. However, the doctor sneered, "Why see a doctor if you don't have money? If you save him, our whole family will thank you for your great kindness." The woman cried. When the old doctor was still alive, he was a kind-hearted man. "You must be kind-hearted as his son." "My father is kind-hearted, that's his business." The doctor turned around and closed the door of the clinic. Next to the woman was a man with a bleeding abdomen. Ren Xiaosu didn't step forward, nor did he try to be a kind person. In fact, he could see that the man had died. He just looked at the scene and said calmly, "Liu Yuan, remember everything in front of you. This is reality." Chapter 14, Deception. Before it was completely dark, dark clouds were already floating in the distant sky. "Acid rain is coming, hurry home," Ren Xiaosu said expressionlessly. The woman was still crying, but no one would pay attention to them. The man's injury did not seem to be an accident. Ren Xiaosu could easily tell that it was a knife wound. So he was definitely not accidentally injured in the factory, but was beaten to death in a fight. Back in their shack, the acid rain came quickly and went away quickly. Yan Liwen sat on the bed and suddenly said, "Brother, you want others to thank you sincerely, right? Doctors are easy to get thanks, right?" When the old doctor was still around, everyone was very grateful to him. "But I don't recommend you to be a doctor. First of all, Doctors can easily fall into a dilemma. Secondly, you don't know any medical skills. Ren Xiaosu turned his head expressionlessly and looked at Yan Liwen. Then what are you talking about here? Wait. Ren Xiaosu suddenly felt that he seemed to have missed something. Although he didn't know medical skills, he could learn. The 2 skill learning maps that the palace gave him in his mind before have not been used yet. If he only needs to use one, he can learn the other party's medical skills. Then he can treat people, or take a step back. If he has any disease or disaster, or Yan Liwen is sick, he can cure them. When the old doctor was still there, he often went out to collect herbs. At that time, the old doctor smiled and mentioned to others that although the beasts have become stronger now, the efficacy of herbs has also improved. So the old doctor relied on his ability to identify herbs and excellent medical skills to cure many people, and the herbs he collected were sold very cheaply. Ren Xiaosu is certainly not a kind person. He just thinks that if he has such a good medical skill, he can be used in the future. And he can also make money. You know, most of the sequelae after Yan Liwen's wish are just a cold, fever, headache, and fever. He doesn't want Yan Liwen's wish to be backfired, but sometimes what if he encounters a situation? I want to be a doctor. Ren Xiaosu said, with a determined look in his eyes. Brother, are you okay? Yan Liwen was stunned. You don't know any medical skills. Don't kill people. Although I don't save people, I don't hurt people either. Ren Xiaosu patted Yan Liwen's head lightly. You are the only one who talks too much? When have I ever hurt anyone? At this time, Ren Xiaosu had already figured out that if he became a doctor, he would definitely be able to make money, which would give him a stable income. People often get injured in this town, so seeing a doctor is a necessity. He did it as soon as he thought of it. The next day, Ren Xiaosu didn't go to school after waking up. He ate 2 bites of black bread and squatted in front of the clinic waiting for it to open. As a result, the clinic was also unlucky. Ren Xiaosu waited until noon, but it didn't open. In the afternoon, the bell rang at 2 o'clock in the shelter, and the young doctor slowly opened the door from the inside, stretched out and came out to bask in the sun. But before he stretched out his waist, he was startled by Ren Xiaosu squatting at the door. Are you here to see a doctor? Do you have money? The doctor asked. The doctor didn't even ask what disease Ren Xiaosu had, he only cared about money. Ren Xiaosu smiled and said, I don't treat patients, you do your thing. The doctor was confused. Why are you squatting at my door if you don't treat patients? However, at this time, Ren Xiaosu had already silently used the first skill learning map in his palace. The skill learning map made of craft paper in the palace spontaneously ignited without fire, and burned clean in an instant. The target skill will be learned randomly. The opponent's bragging skill has been randomly extracted. Do you want to learn it? Ren Xiaosu was dumbfounded at the time. Why should I learn bragging? He almost forgot that this skill learning map randomly extracts the opponent's skills to learn, not what you want to learn. But the question is, why do you have the skill of bragging? Can this be considered a skill? Exclamation mark. You're screwed. Ren Xiaosu looked at the doctor unkindly, thinking that this guy was really disgusting, but he came to steal someone's job. He couldn't just steal someone's job and beat him up, that would be too unkind. The doctor felt a little uncomfortable being stared at, and just when he was about to say something, he finally remembered who Ren Xiaosu was. Ren Xiaosu had never come to see him for treatment, but in fact, both of them had heard of each other. One was the only doctor in the town, and the other was a famous ruthless person in the town. It was normal to hear about each other. So, the young doctor was scared on the spot. What are you going to do? The doctor asked weakly. Do you always brag when you have nothing to do? Ren Xiaosu said unhappily. The young doctor was dumbfounded. What the hell? Ren Xiaosu didn't waste time talking to him. This bragging skill was definitely not something he could learn, and it was useless to learn it. Just think of it as invalidating a skill learning map. He used the second skill learning map again. You will randomly learn the target skill. You have randomly extracted the opponent's deception skill. Do you want to learn it? What the hell? What the hell is this? Ren Xiaosu stared at the young doctor. You are so young, but you have so many skills. The young doctor was almost crying. What are you talking about? Didn't I say that you love to lie? Ren Xiaosu asked. Who have you lied to? Tell me. Don't talk nonsense. Who did I lie to? Ren Xiaosu is a very rational person. After suffering a tragic loss, He carefully analyzed his current situation. He must learn medical skills. The palace will definitely give him skill learning maps in the future, but he doesn't know when it will issue tasks again. So now Ren Xiaosu wants to know how good the other party's medical skills are and whether it is worth it for him to continue learning. He asked in his mind, what level of medical skills does this doctor have? I have learned the target, I can tell you. The other party has no medical skills. You. Fuck you. Ren Xiaosu almost smashed the big iron pot he was carrying. He had carried the pot with him when he went out that morning. No wonder you are so good at cheating. It turns out that you didn't know any medical skills all these years, and you have been cheating all this time? How could the old doctor give birth to such a useless thing? This kid has been living on the old doctor's legacy all these years. Anyway, there is no other doctor in the town, so he cheats with a clear conscience. Those patients can survive, so they survive. If they can't survive, everyone is used to life and death. After all, there were people who couldn't be cured when the old doctor was there. Moreover, before leaving, the old doctor left a lot of herbs for this kid, indicating what symptoms they were for, so he only needed to prescribe the medicine blindly. Ren Xiaosu has learned his lesson today. Next time when he encounters a situation where the skill extraction fails for the first time, he must find out whether the other party has the skills he wants. Thanks to Wen Zaifu for becoming the 5th Silver Alliance of this book, and thanks to Shitai for becoming the new alliance leader of this book. Today, due to special circumstances, it will be published 1 hour and 15 minutes earlier. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 Self-Production and Self-Sales. Ren Xiaosu left in a sullen mood. He wanted to give the young doctor a beating, but his reason was untenable. After all, his original purpose was to steal his job. He had to be a doctor. Ren Xiaosu agreed with Yan Liu's point of view. Doctors were indeed a profession that was easy to be thanked by others. But how could he be a doctor without medical skills? After he arrived at the school, he kept thinking hard, and then he suddenly thought of the scene when he came out of the pawn shop last night. The woman cried and screamed at the door of the clinic, and the man bled profusely and finally stopped. Ren Xiaosu accidentally looked at his palm. Hey, the wound that was originally infected had scabbed today. It turned out that the black ointment could not only reduce inflammation, but also make the wound heal quickly? Exclamation mark. Ren Xiaosu had been injured, so he was very clear about the body's self-healing ability. For a wound as deep as a sparrow's peck, it would take 7 days for the initial scab to form. Wait, Ren Xiaosu seemed to have thought of how to be a doctor. The doctors in that clinic could be doctors even though they only knew how to cheat and brag. Now that he, Ren Xiaosu, had such a magical medicine, why couldn't he be a doctor? Wouldn't it be enough for him to open a clinic specializing in knife wounds? When a patient came, he would just sew up the wound and apply the black ointment. That would be it. When the old doctor was still around, he said that he didn't do this kind of suturing surgery because he didn't have the conditions to sterilize. Those germs left in the body could kill people, so it would be useless to sew them. The old doctor saw this very clearly. But now Ren Xiaosu was different. He didn't have to think about this at all. Thinking of this, Ren Xiaosu had an idea. He could even think of how to arrange for Sister Xiaoyu in the future. Sister Xiaoyu's plan for the future was to see if she could get some sewing and mending jobs to make some money to live. But Ren Xiaosu thought this was difficult. If she was in the refuge barrier, she would probably have a lot of people looking for her. But outside this market town, everyone was miserable, and mending work could be done at home, so who would spend money on it? And Ren Xiaosu was thinking, since he couldn't mend his clothes, he might as well mend his wounds. He didn't know if Sister Xiaoyu would faint when she saw blood. Regarding this matter, Ren Xiaosu even consulted Mr. Zhang Jinglin from the school. After all, Zhang Jinglin knew a lot. Zhang Jinglin looked at Ren Xiaosu in surprise. You want to open a clinic specializing in knife wounds? Do you have sutures? Ren Xiaosu thought for a while and asked, what are sutures? Zhang Jinglin, then do you have anesthetics? What are anesthetics? Zhang Jinglin. At this time, Zhang Jinglin suddenly realized that Ren Xiaosu had not prepared anything. Zhang Jinglin said patiently, do you know that there are so many knife wound patients in our town? Why hasn't the clinic done this kind of business? It's not only the problem of bacterial infection, but also the shortage of anesthetics and sutures. It is said that these things are in short supply in the refuge barriers. Zhang Jinglin continued, there are things to pay attention to when giving anesthesia. Too little will cause pain, and too much will easily cause sequelae. Not to mention sutures. Not only do you have to consider the tension of the thread, but also whether its friction coefficient is suitable for passing through human tissue. Oh, so that's it. Ren Xiaosu waved his hand. These are not problems. People are about to die, so why do they care about pain? I will sew them with sewing thread. What about disinfection? Zhang Jinglin asked in a daze. I have a secret recipe. Ren Xiaosu said. In fact, just as Ren Xiaosu guessed, Zhang Jinglin didn't know everything. He had his own specialty, but the rest was just understanding. So Zhang Jinglin suddenly found that he didn't know how to refute Ren Xiaosu, and finally waved his hand. Go to your class, the next class is survival class. Because Ren Xiaosu had tasted the sweetness of the first day, he decisively dragged the class until dark again. At this time, there were still students who didn't realize what kind of life they were going to start. When the students were about to leave, Ren Xiaosu saw that no one said thank you today, so he couldn't help but ask, don't you want to thank the teachers? As a result, the students were frightened and turned around to say thank you to the teachers. However, Ren Xiaosu looked inward at his palace with great regret, and there was not even a thank you coin. Zhang Jinglin had said before that it was normal for a teacher not to be understood by students. Ren Xiaosu felt that he still had a long way to go. When returning home at night, Ren Xiaosu saw a light in his shack from a distance. He quickly lifted the door curtain and went in. He was surprised to see Sister Xiaoyu sitting on a tattered chair in their house, mending clothes for the two brothers. There was also cooked corn porridge and wild vegetables next to them. Clothes are usually left in the shack because no one steals them. If you steal them, you have to wear them out. If you wear them out, you will be recognized. At that time, Ren Xiaosu would be surprised if he didn't beat the thief to death. Sister Xiaoyu smiled when she saw the two of them coming back. I came in without your consent. Your clothes are torn. I will sew them for you. Hurry up and eat. Yan Liwen stretched out his hand to serve the porridge. This meal was already luxurious in the market town. On weekdays, they ate black bread or potatoes. As a result, Yan Liwen was slapped by Ren Xiaosu on the spot. Have you thanked Sister Xiaoyu? Yan Liwen was still very honest in front of Ren Xiaosu. Thank you Sister Xiaoyu. Sister Xiaoyu quickly said, don't hit Liwen all the time. I can spoil him, but no one spoils him when he is away from home, Ren Xiaosu explained, and then he said seriously, thank you Sister Xiaoyu. You're welcome. Sister Xiaoyu smiled and said, what do you like to eat for dinner? Yan Liwen said, we usually don't eat dinner. How can that be? You two are still growing up, Sister Xiaoyu said. For some reason, Ren Xiaosu suddenly felt that Sister Xiaoyu should have been their sister. In the past, no one had ever told them that they were growing up. Sister Xiaoyu, Ren Xiaosu asked, you are very good at sewing clothes. When we open our knife-wound clinic, will you come and help us? Knife-wound clinic. Sister Xiaoyu was stunned. Why did you suddenly think of opening a knife-wound clinic? Because I have a secret herbal recipe to treat knife wounds. It can reduce inflammation and make the wound heal quickly, Ren Xiaosu said, and then showed her scar on her palm. Sister Xiaoyu saw that Ren Xiaosu's wound had actually scabbed and healed. Sister Xiaoyu thought for a while and said, but there are fewer fights in the town now. In the past, there were more than 10 people injured a day, but now there is only one person every few days. Indeed, apart from the man killed by Ren Xiaosu and the man at the door of the clinic yesterday, it seems that there are really no fights. People who are sneaked into the house in the middle of the night do not count, because in that case, generally no one will be left alive. Ren Xiaosu pondered, how about I go and chop them up? Yan Liwen was shocked at the time. Brother, you are too cruel. What is this, self-production and self-sales? Ren Xiaosu shook his head quickly after saying this. No, we can't do this kind of thing. We can't let the profit get to our heads. Chapter 16 Give you a cheaper price. Ren Xiaosu checked his gains in the dead of night. Yesterday, Sister Xiaoyu gave him a thank you coin, Yan Liwen gave him 1, and the 2 students gave him 2, so he got 4 in total. But he used up 1, and now he only has 3 thank you coins left, and a small bottle of ointment that can be used twice. Ren Xiaosu decided to name this ointment Black Medicine, which is simple and easy to remember. In Ren Xiaosu's opinion, 1 thank you coin can be exchanged for a bottle of black medicine, and 1 bottle of black medicine can treat 3 people. In this way, 1 for 3 is always a sure win. It seems that exchanging thank you coins for black medicine and selling them will slow down his progress in unlocking weapons, but the more black medicine he exchanges, the more thank you coins he gets. This is a geometric growth, and he may even unlock it faster. In addition, Yan Lin has a bone knife that he can use for the time being. He doesn't have to go out hunting in the short term, so making money to support his family has become the top priority. Make money first. That night, Ren Xiaosu had a dream. He dreamed that he was standing in the wilderness, holding a black knife in his hand. The knife was as dark and mysterious as the night. Ren Xiaosu went out early the next morning. Today, he did not carry the iron pot, but only took Yan Linwen's bone knife. Now that Sister Xiaoyu stayed in the 2 shacks, it was unlikely that things would be lost during the day. To be honest, those people in the market town who had bad intentions would pick on the weak. Why did they have to steal from the ruthless Ren Xiaosu? It was so nice not to have to carry the iron pot when going out. Otherwise, it would not look good for Ren Xiaosu, a young and promising young man, to run around carrying an iron pot every day. He went to the wilderness today not to hunt, but to pretend to collect herbs. Ren Xiaosu was a very cautious person. Since he said he had a secret recipe for herbs, he had to go through the process of collecting herbs first, so that he would not be suspected. Although Ren Xiaosu had not heard of anyone targeting supernatural people, the problem was that Ren Xiaosu understood one thing very well, that is, if you want to protect yourself in a chaotic crowd, just pretend to be like everyone else. The first bird to stick its head out gets shot, the tree that stands out in the forest will be destroyed by the wind, and wealth should not be exposed. There are many famous sayings from the ancients that tell people not to pretend casually. It was only noon when he returned to the market town. When Ren Xiaosu came back with a bunch of herbs, someone who knew him asked curiously, "Ren Xiaosu, why are you carrying so many weeds? Is this weed?" Ren Xiaosu said with a glare, "This is herbs." Herbs? The person asking the question was confused. As a native of the market town, how could he not know what these plants were? No one had ever used them as herbs before. Ren Xiaosu said mysteriously, "As long as the proportions are different, it can be boiled into herbal medicine for healing injuries. Otherwise, how do you think I healed my previous injuries?" The questioner thought for a long time. Didn't you just bear it? Get lost. Ren Xiaosu went back to his shack without stopping. At this time, Sister Xiaoyu was still mending clothes for Ren Xiaosu and Yan Linwen. She looked up and saw Ren Xiaosu coming back with a bunch of herbs, so she put down her needlework. "What are these?" "They are herbs used to boil secret recipes," Ren Xiaosu explained. Ren Xiaosu set up the iron pot, lit a fire, added some water and began to pretend to boil the herbs. In the process of boiling the herbs, the biggest cost is actually water. Water is much more valuable than firewood and those weeds. He also specially lifted the curtain of the shack to let people in the town see what he was doing. Many people saw Ren Xiaosu boiling the herbs, but no one dared to step forward to ask. Ren Xiaosu was unhappy. He opened the door curtain just to let others ask, so that he could promote his herbal medicine. After waiting for a long time, no one came to ask. Ren Xiaosu looked at a thin man who was secretly watching outside the door with a dark face. "You." The thin man pointed at himself. "Me." "Yes, come here," Ren Xiaosu said after the other party approached cautiously. "Hurry up and ask what I'm doing." The thin man. "Sister Xiaoyu." "Ask," Ren Xiaosu urged. "You, what are you doing?" the thin man asked. After Ren Xiaosu's wish was fulfilled, he immediately put on a smiling face and said kindly, "I'm boiling herbs. I usually boil this kind of herbs when I get injured. It can not only reduce inflammation and relieve pain, but also make the wound heal quickly. I used to hide this medicine, but now I realize my mistake and decided to boil it and share it with everyone. From today on, I will open a clinic specializing in knife wounds and trauma. Is there anyone injured who wants to be treated?" Ren Xiaosu's words stunned everyone outside, but everyone looked at each other and dispersed. No one bought it at all. "Just kidding, you Ren Xiaosu are really amazing, but it's nonsense to say that you can suddenly cure diseases now. Everyone in the neighborhood knows that you used to get through it. Now you suddenly tell us that you have herbs? No one will believe it. Ren Xiaosu was not happy. Now he had to let everyone know the efficacy of the medicine. This was very simple, because he had experienced it himself. The pain and burning sensation disappeared the moment the medicine was applied, and then a scab would form the next day. As long as I let everyone know that it works, won't I have business? Ren Xiaosu took the small medicine bottle to the market town to find patients. Where are the most patients? It must be the clinic. When Ren Xiaosu arrived at the clinic, he found that there was no patient in the clinic. It was really because the clinic charged too much for people to see a doctor, and no one could afford it. Ren Xiaosu glared at the young doctor and turned away. The young doctor was drinking tea leisurely, but suddenly he was a little panicked by Ren Xiaosu's glare. There was no other way. Ren Xiaosu could only look for patients randomly in the market town. It was not until the afternoon when all the factories got off work that Ren Xiaosu finally saw a thin man with scratches on his hands on the road. Ren Xiaosu was overjoyed. Brother, did you hurt your hand while working? I have a special medicine here, do you want some? The thin man looked at Ren Xiaosu warily, always feeling that Ren Xiaosu's tone was not serious. No. Give me some. Ren Xiaosu stepped forward and directly held the man down. In order to promote his black medicine, Ren Xiaosu simply put aside his last principle, give you a discount. However, the other party was still unwilling. After all, the black thing in Ren Xiaosu's hand looked problematic. Ren Xiaosu gritted his teeth. Just think of it as a promotion. This time I will treat you for free. Okay, put the knife away first. Ren Xiaosu came out to find a patient, and he came out with a bone knife. Chapter 17 I never expected it. Brother, Yan Lin asked Ren Xiaosu, did you really treat people for free this afternoon? Is this still you? Don't ask, I'll commit suicide if you ask. Ren Xiaosu was heartbroken. To be honest, he wanted to sell the black medicine too much. This was his biggest reliance for earning others' gratitude, and this thing was also the core of his plan to make money in the future. So Ren Xiaosu could only comfort himself that everything is difficult at the beginning, and those who achieve great things are not particular about small matters, and people should be generous. Ren Xiaosu is not simply stingy. He knows very well what he should do at what time, but he is just distressed. Sister Xiaoyu smiled and comforted, don't worry, it will definitely succeed. After that, Sister Xiaoyu went back to her shack to sleep. She used to sleep at night without peace of mind, but now she can sleep well every day after living here. The next morning, the bell in the shelter suddenly rang, as if reminding everyone to go to work in the factory. Ren Xiaosu went to fetch the water for today. He thought that it would take 12 hours for the black medicine to form scabs after applying it, so he was not in a hurry to see how other people in the market town would react. When everyone knew that the medicine was really effective, people would come to visit. However, what Ren Xiaosu did not expect was that when he came back with a bucket, Wang Fuge was already waiting at the door of the shack with a smile on his face. Old Wang, why did you come here so early? I haven't been out catching sparrows recently. Ren Xiaosu put the water on the ground and said slowly. He also took a look inside. Yan Lin, the clever guy, was holding a bone knife to warn old Wang. He put the bone knife down when he saw Ren Xiaosu coming back. When Wang Fuge saw Ren Xiaosu, his eyes lit up. Hey, Xiaosu, you're back. I came to see you so early in the morning. What's the matter? Ren Xiaosu felt something was wrong. What could make old Wang so happy? He looked at Lao Wang carefully. You didn't drink fake wine, did you? Wang Fuge's face suddenly drooped. What are you drinking? Don't you know that alcohol is prohibited now? People are still hungry. Who dares to drink? I smelled it on you last time. Wang Fuge's face changed drastically when he heard Ren Xiaosu say this. He quickly interrupted and said, don't talk nonsense. Okay, I won't tell you. What do you want to talk to me about? Ren Xiaosu said. Did you treat the wound of Titao at the east end of the town yesterday? Wang Fuge said with a wink. Oh, his name is Titao. He is not a tough guy, why is he called this name? Ren Xiaosu wondered. Don't interrupt me, Wang Fuge asked, just tell me if you have it or not. Yes. Ren Xiaosu's heart began to rise with joy. Wang Fuge, a player who had come to see him for no reason, must have been attracted by the effect of the black medicine and made him see the benefits. Otherwise, how could he be so attentive to him? So this proves that the market for his black medicine is about to open up. Wang Fuge was delighted when he heard Ren Xiaosu's admission. Do you have any more of that medicine? You can just leave it with me and I'll help you sell it. You help me sell it? No, Ren Xiaosu shook his head. There can't be middlemen making a profit from the price difference. After all, the market town is so small, can't I sell it myself? I'm not going to dump more than 100 refuge barriers. Even if I really have such a big business, you can't take it. Wang Fuge was also stunned when he heard Ren Xiaosu say that. Yes, the market town was so small, why should Ren Xiaosu let him sell it on his behalf? But Wang Fuge said, you can sell me some. Huh? Ren Xiaosu looked at Wang Fuge, you're not injured, why do you need this stuff? Wang Fuge smiled mysteriously and said, you don't know about this yet, do you? Yesterday, Titao went home and thought more and more that something was wrong. He wanted to know what you applied to him, so he smelled it first, but couldn't smell it. Later, he simply licked it lightly to taste it and see what kind of medicinal material it was. Guess what happened? Ren Xiaosu is confused. What kind of habit is this? Licking it to taste it. Needless to say, the effect of the black medicine, Titao knew that Ren Xiaosu didn't lie to him when he observed the wound that night. This is indeed a good medicine. Curiosity instigated him to know what the formula of this herbal medicine is. Wang Fuge continued, as a result, he tortured his wife from that night to this morning. Your medicine is too powerful. Ren Xiaosu was shocked at the time. Yan Luiyun in the shack was also shocked at the time. Ren Xiaosu had thought about whether this black medicine could be taken internally before. Would it have any effect you have taken internally? He thought it might be possible, but he didn't dare to try it. However, now he found out that taking it internally actually has this effect? Exclamation mark. What the hell is this medicine that has been bothering him until morning? Ren Xiaosu was a little amused. Then why did you buy this medicine? He had a reason to ask this, because he knew that Wang Fuge's wife had died of illness a few years ago, so he didn't need this medicine. Wang Fuge was unhappy. Who can't have a second spring? It's just that my body can't bear it anymore. Oh? Did you find a buyer? Ren Xiaosu laughed happily. Not yet, old Wang said, but I thought, no one can marry a useless man, so I wanted to prepare your medicine. Ren Xiaosu was happy. Okay, Wang Fuge, you are still strong at an old age. What kind of wife do you want to find? Wang Fuge said modestly, as long as she likes me. Ren Xiaosu pondered, your requirements are not low. Wang Fuge. Who are you talking about? Wang Fuge said with a dark face, I am one of the richest men in our town after all, why don't others like me? Alice, Ren Xiaosu was a little melancholy, one of the richest men in our town actually runs a grocery store. It sounds a bit shabby. Who are you talking about? Stop talking nonsense. Sell it or not? Sell. Ren Xiaosu thought for a while and said, the price for acquaintances, 600. Why don't you go and rob it? Wang Fuge was anxious. Ren Xiaosu now has enough black medicine left to treat one injury. But if it works after just one lick, as Lao Wang said, then the remaining amount is enough to lick several times. But this thing is not necessary for internal use, so it can't be sold too much. Will you buy it? Ren Xiaosu said while looking at Wang Fuge. Buy. Wang Fuge gave Ren Xiaosu 600 yuan without bargaining. Ren Xiaosu never thought that his black medicine would be sold in this way. He also never thought that he originally planned to be a doctor, but ended up being a supplier of adult products. Wang Fuge suddenly turned around and said to Ren Xiaosu, thank you for this. Thanks from Wang Fuge, +1. Ren Xiaosu. The number of thank you coins finally returned to 4, although the way to get these thank you coins was a little different from what Ren Xiaosu imagined. Chapter 18. It's pretty simple. Brother, this isn't bad, actually, Yan Luiyun said with a smile. No matter what the effect is, there's money to be made. Ren Xiaosu was not happy. He lowered his voice and said, is this a money-making business? How many times can you get sincere thanks from this? Ren Xiaosu thought about this very clearly. The chance of getting sincere thanks from buying medicine with this effect is much lower than curing diseases and saving lives. Only a deadwood player like Lao Wang who longs for spring will say thank you. Besides, is his purpose to make money? No, he still needs thanks. Without thanks, there will be no black medicine. Ren Xiaosu said with a little anger, if I cure diseases and save lives, people in the market town will be polite to me. Look at how many people the kid in the clinic has killed, but no one does anything to him? Why? Because he is the only doctor in the market town. Brother, you are right, Yan Lin agreed with a lowered eyebrow. In fact, he didn't care. Anyway, he knew they were going to become rich slowly. And most importantly, Ren Xiaosu said, if I cure diseases and save lives, people will call me Dr. Ren when they see me. If I don't cure diseases and save lives, what will they call me behind my back? Hey, the medicine seller. It sounds like the social status is obviously different. Yan Lin finally couldn't hold it anymore. He laughed in the shack. Brother, you have a lot of inner drama. However, what Ren Xiaosu didn't know was that the medicine he sold to Lao Wang was not used by Lao Wang himself. After all, Lao Wang really didn't find a mistress now. The bottle containing the black medicine was nothing special. It was just an ordinary small porcelain bottle in the market town. The original bottle containing the black medicine was made of glass, and the craftsmanship was very high. Ren Xiaosu was worried about what to do if this thing was suspected again. After all, there was no one selling this kind of bottle in the market town. The small porcelain bottle was handed over from Wang Fugi to the managers of the market town, that is, the few people who came out of the refuge barrier. Lao Wang thought that Ren Xiaosu didn't understand the value of this thing, but he did. Where is the oral function of this black medicine most needed? Is it the men in the market town? No. Although the men in the market town could barely make ends meet and some of them were skinny, the problem was that they worked every day and were in good health despite being skinny. As long as they exercise more and maintain their body's metabolic skills and organ functions, it would be easy, so the men didn't really need this stuff. The people who needed it the most were actually the nobles in the refuge fortress. Wang Fuga handed the black medicine to the manager sent by the refuge fortress with a sly look. The manager was a connoisseur of goods. Their daily job was to observe the unusual movements in the market town, so he also knew about Titao licking the medicine last night. However, the manager didn't use it either, and actually gave it to his boss again after returning home at night. In the end, no one knew where this small porcelain bottle of black medicine went. Ren Xiaosu knew nothing about this. He just exchanged another bottle of black medicine with a thank you coin, and then asked Sister Xiao to go to the market town to pull a piece of white linen, and then embroidered the two big words clinic on it with black thread, and then embroidered the 8 small words specializing in knife wounds, doctors with a kind heart under the clinic. The clinic was opened like this. When embroidering, Sister Xiao asked Ren Xiaosu if he wanted to embroider the 4 words Mao Xiaohuchen. Ren Xiaosu quickly denied it. He was a little sensitive to the word spring now. Ren Xiaosu's life gradually returned to normal. He went out to collect herbs in the morning, saw patients in his own shack during the day, taught survival classes at night, and then took Yan Linwen's notes to make up for his homework. Although his own clinic had no business, the problem was that he couldn't not sit here. What if a patient came? Sister Xiaoi couldn't handle it alone. He wanted to study in a spacious and bright classroom like Yan Linwen, but what about Yan Linwen and Sister Xiaoi if he went to study? This family always had a wish to sacrifice themselves. The next day, Ren Xiaosu sat in the shack with the door curtain opened and closed his eyes to rest. Sister Xiaoi was mending behind him. Sister Xiaoi sometimes sighed that the holes in the clothes of these two brothers had never been mended before. How could there be so many? At this moment, someone ran quickly from the other side of the dirt road, and one of his arms was bleeding. Ren Xiaosu's eyes lit up. You might die if you don't treat this injury. However, the man didn't even look at Ren Xiaosu. At this moment, everyone's subconscious mind was that they still had to go to the clinic to treat injuries, because it was more authoritative. And everyone's impression of Ren Xiaosu is still more of the one who sells medicine than the one who can treat knife wounds. At this time, the long-lost palace voice sounded in his mind. Mission, treat 1 patient. Ren Xiaosu stood up and said melancholy, I'm sorry. After that, Sister Xiaoyu saw Ren Xiaosu running out. Less than a minute later, she saw Ren Xiaosu carrying the man back. Ren Xiaosu said to the patient with a smile, the doctor in the clinic is a charlatan. I carried you here to save you, understand? The man had lost blood for a long time and had no strength in his body. He almost collapsed when Ren Xiaosu held him down. At this time, 2 more men came running over from the other side of the dirt road, both covered in blood. Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. Are you guys in a group fight? The man who was being held down explained after hearing this, no, it was the boiler in the factory that exploded. We are considered lightly injured and can still run back by ourselves, but some people may not be able to survive on the spot. Ren Xiaosu nodded silently. In this day and age, if you get injured in a factory, no one will be kind enough to take you to the clinic for treatment. They think that if you die, your things will belong to me. Come on, Sister Xiaoyu, disinfect the needle first, Ren Xiaosu said. Although he didn't have to worry about inflammation, he still had to pretend to be in front of the patient, right? As he said that, he went out again, and this time he brought 2 men with him when he turned back. Ren Xiaosu held the 3 of them with his 2 hands and 1 leg. The 3 of them had no desire to live. They really suffered from the injury, otherwise Ren Xiaosu really couldn't hold them down. And they actually knew that Ren Xiaosu could treat the wound here, but they just ran to the clinic out of habit. Now that they couldn't move, they simply didn't move. Then the 3 people saw Sister Xiaoyu put down her needlework and took the needle she had just used to sew clothes to burn it over the fire. The needle was quite long, so she wouldn't burn her hand if she held the end of the needle to burn it. Just sew it? Sister Xiaoyu asked timidly. Yes, just like sewing clothes, Ren Xiaosu smiled. It's quite simple. Sister Xiaoyu mustered up her courage and sewed the wound of a person. As a result, she heard a sizzle sound, and a burnt smell floated from the person's skin. The man asked tremblingly, I understand that you use fire to disinfect the needle, but can you wait for the needle to cool down before sewing? Chapter 19 Why don't you run faster? It was a mistake, Ren Xiaosu explained with a smile. This nurse of ours is also on her first day at work, so she doesn't know the process very well. Let's continue with the stitching. Come on, Sister Xiaoyu, just treat it as sewing clothes. Sister Xiaoyu was not a person who was afraid of blood. To be honest, everyone in this market town was used to seeing life and death, so what was a little injury? And she liked her current job very much. It wasn't that she liked blood, but she liked being a useful person. It was common sense in the market town that everyone had to be useful in this difficult and harsh environment, and useless people would be abandoned sooner or later. This was the simplest logic when people got along with each other. Sister Xiaoyu was not sure whether Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen would abandon her because she was useless, but she couldn't be lazy. When she heard Ren Xiaosu say to treat it as sewing clothes, she had a plan in her mind, and the movements of her hands became much more coherent. And Ren Xiaosu kept pressing the man's arm without moving, which made it easier for her to perform. When the sewing was almost done, Sister Xiaoyu said to Ren Xiaosu, suturing a wound is a little different from sewing clothes. When sewing clothes, you try to leave the thread inside the clothes so that others can't see it, but you can't leave the thread inside when sewing a wound. You have to sew it the other way around. It won't look good. The 3 patients were in mixed feelings at the time. The more Sister Xiaoyu said, the more panic they felt. When Sister Xiaoyu finished sewing, Ren Xiaosu took out a small porcelain bottle and applied it to the first patient's wound. My medicine is a treasure. I won't charge you more. The price is 600, the same as the clinic. You should be able to afford it. 600 yuan is about the price of a cotton jacket, and these workers may earn between 2,200 and 2,800 yuan a month. The price is relatively expensive, but who can blame the shortage of supplies? The nobles in the refuge fortress hoped that these people would never save any money in their lives, so they could only work hard for them. And these workers couldn't just leave, because they couldn't survive in the wilderness, and this was the nobles' reliance on exploiting the refugees. In the eyes of the nobles, it was good enough that these refugees did not have to pay protection fees under the protection of the refuge barrier, but they thought the means of collecting protection fees were too low level. The reason why Ren Xiaosu could live without going to the coal mine before was that he only needed to kill 3 sparrows a month to be better than most workers. Even if he did not kill 3, he could still survive by tightening his belt. This was a deformed living environment. Some people resisted at the beginning, but it did not work out. Ren Xiaosu was right. All 3 men could afford the money. The first man who was cured immediately stopped the pain after applying the black medicine. He was willing to pay the money. The price was the same when he went to the town clinic for treatment. Just as the healed patient was about to leave, Ren Xiaosu said kindly, "Don't you say thank you after the treatment?" The man shuddered and turned back and said, "Thank you." Ren Xiaosu nodded with satisfaction, but when he looked at the palace, he suddenly found that there were no extra thank you coins. Ren Xiaosu pondered, is the doctor-patient relationship so tense now? I cured you this disease, and you can't even say thank you sincerely? Exclamation mark. Then Ren Xiaosu heard the prompt sound of the task completion. Task completed, reward 1.0 strength. This was the task of treating one patient before, and it was finally completed. Unexpectedly, the reward for this palace task was 1.0 strength again. This is also one of the things Ren Xiaosu wants most now. After all, whoever has a hard fist has a loud voice these days. The voice of the palace sounded again. Task, treat 3 patients. Hey, this time it was a serial task. After completing the first one, a more difficult task appeared. But aren't there 3 ready-made patients in front of me? Will the next reward be another 1.0 strength? In that case, I will become a muscle man. This is actually not good, because such strength is sacrificing one's speed. The greater the friction coefficient between muscles, the lower the speed you can exert. The fastest runner must have the most coordinated body muscles, not a bodybuilder. Now Ren Xiaosu's strength is much higher than that of an average person. Ren Xiaosu observed it carefully. No one noticed when his muscles bulged this time. It was late autumn now, and the clothes he wore covered him tightly. At this time, a patient took advantage of Ren Xiaosu's distraction and ran outside. Sister Xiaoyu reminded Ren Xiaosu. The patient ran away. Ren Xiaosu smiled and said, "It's okay. He is still injured and can't run far. I'll catch him back." Sister Xiaoyu. The only remaining patient. When Ren Xiaosu went out to catch the patient, Sister Xiaoyu looked at the only remaining patient and said gently, "Are you running? If you run, I'll sew you up later." "No," the patient closed his eyes and said with determination, "Sew it up." This time, it was not so difficult for Ren Xiaosu to carry the patient back. He could carry it with one hand, but the patient was a little desperate. The following treatment was not bumpy. Ren Xiaosu pressed one by one, and no one could move. The 2 men who were being held down were actually a little surprised, because they didn't expect that they would be completely powerless to fight back when facing Ren Xiaosu, as if they were being dominated. How much strength does it take to do this? Even if they were injured, they wouldn't be so weak, they could still struggle just now. And the most important thing is, who can escape from Ren Xiaosu's treatment in the future? Mission completed, reward 1.0 agility. Mission, treat 10 patients. When Ren Xiaosu heard this voice, he was stunned immediately, because he felt that his muscles that had just bulged suddenly deflated a lot. This agility attribute is actually based on increasing the strength of muscle fibers, so as to achieve the purpose of reducing muscle volume under the same strength. In this way, Ren Xiaosu doesn't have to worry about becoming a muscular man. If Ren Xiaosu's previous muscle fiber strength was a wooden stick, then the current muscle fiber strength is an iron stick. Yes, this is the most reasonable way. Only improving quality instead of simply quantity is the right way. Moreover, my ability to withstand blows will probably increase accordingly, right? Ren Xiaosu looked at the patient who had tried to escape before. Now that you have applied the medicine, you understand its benefits. It instantly relieves pain and won't cause inflammation in the future. I just can't understand why you want to run away. The patient stammered for a long time. I don't have enough money. Ren Xiaosu had a toothache at the time, and he said with great sorrow, "Then why don't you run faster?" Chapter 20 Wolfpack. When the patient heard Ren Xiaosu was still lamenting why he didn't run faster, he felt very aggrieved. "I've already run as hard as I can, you're just too abnormal." Ren Xiaosu smacked his lips and said, "Others have paid and left, you decide what to do with your situation. We're a clinic, not a charity. Then what do you say we should do?" The man was about to cry, seeing that he couldn't beat the man, and he didn't have enough money. Maybe he would just donate it here today. "You see, this is it," Ren Xiaosu said with a smile. "Think carefully, do you still have money hidden at home?" "No, who dares to hide money at home now? Even my wife doesn't trust me." The man was almost desperate. Ren Xiaosu was also a little impatient. "Don't be so aggrieved, man, just tell me how much money you have left. There are only 4 or 5 days left before the salary is paid. It's the end of the month now, and we can't save money at all. I ask you how much you have left." Ren Xiaosu roared. 432, the man cried. "You definitely can't ask the other party to write an IOU. Nowadays, if someone writes you an IOU today, the person might be gone tomorrow." Ren Xiaosu wondered if the person had anything valuable on him. Suddenly, Ren Xiaosu thought of something. His eyes lit up and he said, "It's like this. I see that it's not easy for you either. How about you just forget about the rest and give me the money in your pocket? I'll leave you 32 yuan for dinner. Forget it, I'll leave you 2 yuan for dinner. The man was almost moved to tears when he heard it. Thank you, thank you. Thanks from Dongming Shui, +1. Ren Xiaosu was ecstatic. He finally found a way to get thanks. First of all, the price should be reasonable. If the clinic charges 600, he will also charge 600, so that people won't think he is ripping people off. Secondly, he should act. Even if he makes less money, he should make enough to move people. Making money is not important. Thanks are important. With thanks, there's money. In just one day, Ren Xiaosu had earned 2,230 yuan, which was much faster than catching sparrows, and there was no danger at all. Now Ren Xiaosu's gratitude coins returned to 4 again. It didn't seem to increase much, but the important thing was that he found a way through trial and error. At this time, Ren Xiaosu had already begun to think happily that he could buy another set of autumn clothes and trousers for Yan Longden. He looked back at Sister Xiaoyu. Well, Sister Xiaoyu could also buy a cotton padded jacket for the winter. Sister Xiaoyu has now entered the role of a nurse, and Ren Xiaosu can't let her work for nothing, right? But don't worry, first see how much money you can make in a month, and then decide how much salary to pay Sister Xiaoyu. The news of the factory boiler explosion has spread to the market town, and many women are very anxious, fearing that their men will have an accident. Ren Xiaosu sat in the shack all afternoon waiting for people to come back, but he didn't see any. The most uncomfortable person should be the liar in the clinic in the market town. After hearing about the boiler explosion, he was excitedly waiting for patients to come to the clinic, but in the evening, no one came to see the doctor. The young doctor went out to ask around. He clearly heard that 3 people came back in the afternoon with injuries. How come no one came to bandage his wounds? However, he was upset when he asked around. He was intercepted. He thought it was so awesome that he dared to intercept him. As a result, he asked around again. It was Ren Xiaosu. The young doctor hesitated for a long time and finally gritted his teeth. What happened to Ren Xiaosu? Can Ren Xiaosu steal other people's jobs? But the young doctor felt that something was wrong. How could Ren Xiaosu suddenly learn to treat injuries and save people? When he heard about the black medicine before, he just thought it was a herbal medicine randomly prepared by Ren Xiaosu. He was a little skeptical in his heart, but now he had to believe it. He ran to find Ren Xiaosu angrily to reason with him. When he arrived at the door of Ren Xiaosu's shack, Ren Xiaosu was peeling potatoes with a bone knife. He saw Ren Xiaosu stabbing the bone knife into the potato and piercing it directly. Ren Xiaosu asked nonchalantly, "You are looking for me?" "Nothing, I just asked you if you had eaten." The young doctor laughed dryly. Ren Xiaosu glanced at him and said, "Yu Tong, you are not young anymore. The old doctor's influence is about to be used up by you. I advise you to go back and read the old doctor's medical books, so that you won't die too miserably in the future." "What are you talking about?" Yu Tong said guiltily, "I read medical books every day." "That's good." Ren Xiaosu lowered his head and ignored him, continuing to peel potatoes. To be honest, Ren Xiaosu and his family didn't peel potatoes before. They ate them directly, because peeling potatoes would cut off a lot of weight. But now it's different. Ren Xiaosu is rich and arrogant. Suddenly, dozens of people ran into the town and shouted, "Oh no, oh no." Ren Xiaosu frowned. He grabbed one of them and asked, "What happened?" The smell of blood from the factory boiler explosion attracted the wolves. The man said in panic, "I don't know where the wolves came from. There are a lot of them." "How many?" Ren Xiaosu asked. "I'm afraid there must be hundreds of them. This is indeed a big deal, and the workers left in the factory are probably in danger. The wolves haven't appeared for more than a year. During this time, everyone almost forgot about the threat of the wolves. No one knew where they went during this time. When they came back, their number increased several times. However, the wolves dared not come to rob the town because there were high walls here, and there were hot weapons on the high walls. This is why the refugees gathered outside the wall to form a town." "What are you looking at?" "Eat," Ren Xiaosu said to Yan Longden. After that, he sat down and continued to eat. Yan Longden looked outside curiously while eating. "Brother, how did you survive? You never told me." Ren Xiaosu glanced at him, but never answered the question. Sister Xiaoyu beside him also glanced at Ren Xiaosu, but she didn't ask anything. After Yan Liwen finished a potato, Ren Xiaosu handed him another one. Eat more to grow up, so that you can have a better chance of survival than others. Brother, are you worried that wolves will come to the market town? Yan Liwen looked at Ren Xiaosu with a frown. No, Ren Xiaosu shook his head and said, they are smarter than you think, and they won't take risks here. If the factory hadn't had casualties caused by the boiler explosion, they wouldn't have gone there. They were not attracted by the smell of blood at all, they were attracted by death. Then what are you worried about, brother? Yan Liwen was curious. Ren Xiaosu thought for a long time, what if this wall collapses one day? Sister Xiaoi was stunned for a moment. Will this wall collapse? I don't know. Ren Xiaosu shook his head again, but nothing in this world is unchanging. I actually saw a pack of wolves twice. The first time they were far away and I ran away. The second time I was not so lucky, but I always felt that they seemed to be getting stronger. In fact, Ren Xiaosu was also thinking, what would the world be like if this barrier collapsed one day? Thanks to Yanhu Enren for becoming the silver ally of this book, and thanks to King Ai, Nifang Zilanli, Lu Yinhong, and Hua Bijun for becoming the new ally of this book. Chapter 21 Family Status. Today, unexpected news came one after another, making the people in the market town panic. Tonight, everyone did not hide at home, but all came out to discuss this matter. In fact, the explosion of the factory boiler is not a serious matter. After all, the factory boiler has exploded more than once or twice due to years of disrepair. However, this time is different. How dare the wolf pack rob the human factory before? Almost every factory has thousands of workers. When the factory gets off work, the road outside the market town is very busy. Some workers return to the market town to live, and some workers simply live in the factory dormitory. They work in 3 shifts, and the factory is running day and night. Such a small human settlement near the refuge barrier, how dare the wolf pack go? This is a very incredible thing in itself. Just as the accompanying mercenaries of the band said, the refuge barrier number 113 is located in the huge barrier circle, which has always been relatively safe. At the beginning, the refuge barrier also stationed troops in the factory, but later everyone found that there were no beasts attacking the factory at all, so they withdrew the troops and only left a few guns for the factory managers. At night, the gate of the refuge barrier suddenly opened, and the gate of the barrier made a loud rumbling sound, and then hundreds of soldiers with live ammunition walked out from inside. These were the private army of the manager of number 113, or the private army of the Qing family consortium behind number 113. Zhang Jinglan, the school teacher, once mentioned inadvertently that the consortium is now the actual controller of the refuge barrier. They control the lifeline of human survival and the weapons to fight against external dangers. With money in one hand and weapons in the other, they firmly control all the barriers in their hands. This was the first time that Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen saw so many soldiers coming out of the refuge barrier. Yan Liwen hid in the shack and secretly watched these private armies marching towards the outside of the market town. He whispered, "Brother, are they carrying guns? Those black guns look very cold and brutal," and Ren Xiaosu found that he knew all these guns. Moreover, he had a feeling, as long as he got these guns, he would be able to use them well immediately. These private armies were not marching in an orderly manner. There were off-road vehicles leading the way, but some soldiers behind were walking in a mess. The formation could even be said to be chaotic. Someone in the private army complained, "It's just that some people died in the factory. Can't we go there tomorrow morning? We have to kill wolves tonight." "Shut up, this is a task assigned by the higher-ups," someone glared at him. "What are you afraid of? The officials can't hear you. They are still in the woman's bed," the man cursed, and as he spoke, he lit a thin cigarette for himself. Ren Xiaosu smelled a strange smell of cigarettes again. Ren Xiaosu frowned. He was becoming less and less trusting of the private armies in the fortresses. At this time, the private soldier who was smoking turned around and saw Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen looking at his automatic rifle. He cursed, "What are you two little brats looking at? Do you know what this is? Forget about it. You won't be able to use it even if I give it to you." Ren Xiaosu put down the door curtain, but he didn't agree with the second half of the soldier's words. For some reason, he suddenly judged that the soldier's shooting skills might not be very good. The triangle area on the opponent's right chest used to withstand the recoil force did not form a posture for long-term shooting practice. In fact, What Ren Xiaosu didn't know was that hot weapons are now more precious even for the refuge barrier. On weekdays, the officers of the private army would not let these soldiers waste ammunition. It is better to use this money to drink some wine or find women. Alcohol is prohibited outside the refuge barrier, but it is not prohibited inside. Yan Luan asked curiously, "Brother, why do I think you seem to know the guns?" Ren Xiaosu glanced at him and said, "Don't ask too much." Yan Luan complained aggrievedly, "Do I still have a position in this family?" Ren Xiaosu thought about it and said nonchalantly, "Don't think too much. Your position in the family is to be alive." Yan Luan. When the footsteps of the private army went away, Ren Xiaosu suddenly stood up and said to Yan Luan, "Go to your sister Xiaoyu's place tonight and stay for a while. Come back when I come back." "Brother, where are you going?" Yan Luan asked in a daze. As soon as he finished asking, Ren Xiaosu had quietly lifted the door curtain and went out. At this time, many people gathered on the street, so no one noticed Ren Xiaosu's whereabouts. On weekdays, everyone dared not go out after dark, but today everyone came out, as if it was New Year's Day. Ren Xiaosu walked through the darkness, and when he was out of the town, he began to run wildly. The moonlight tonight was not bright, but Ren Xiaosu had to go out of the town almost every day in recent years, and he could walk the road here with his eyes closed. The private soldiers of the barrier took the main road, while Ren Xiaosu chose a parallel path to avoid running into the private soldiers. He came here for no other reason than to see if there was any opportunity, and he couldn't explain what this opportunity was. Guns. It was the guns that tempted Ren Xiaosu to come here. Ren Xiaosu, who had acquired advanced firearm skills, knew how important firearms were in today's era. The accompanying mercenaries of the band once said, "They have hot weapons, and the wolves will flee in panic when they hear the gunshots." Ren Xiaosu, who had encountered a wolf pack, knew how terrible the wolf pack was, and such a terrible thing was afraid of gunshots. Ren Xiaosu didn't know what would happen to these private soldiers when they faced the wolf pack, and he didn't think about getting the guns in their hands, because his target was the factory, and everyone in the town knew that factory managers were equipped with guns. According to the people who escaped from the factory was finished. Ren Xiaosu was wondering in the afternoon. Isn't it said that wolves are afraid of gunshots? Then wouldn't the wolves be scared away if the manager fired a gun? Maybe they didn't expect the wolves to come, so they didn't have time to get their guns. Maybe the gunmen were ambushed by the wolves, or there were other reasons, but the guns might still be there. Ren Xiaosu ran as fast as he could. He was more familiar with this place than those private soldiers. And those private soldiers walked, but he was running. Suddenly, a gunshot burst out in the dark night, and then there was fierce gunshots that lasted for a long time in the night sky, and there were also human screams. Ren Xiaosu suddenly turned his head and looked at the source of the sound. It was clearly that the private soldiers encountered the wolves, and many private soldiers were still injured after firing. Isn't it said that wolves are afraid of gunshots? Isn't it said that this is the instinct of wild animals to avoid danger? To this day, Ren Xiaosu has a cognition. Although wild animals have evolved, they have never been able to overcome their instincts. Rabbits still eat grass, and wolves are still afraid of gunshots. Unless, all this has changed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Gun. The battle in the wilderness was fierce. The private army did not expect to encounter wolves in advance. Those wild wolves seemed to have ambushed there in advance, fierce and cunning. At first, they thought that they could scare off the wolves by firing, but they were wrong. This time, the wolves did not panic after hearing the gunshots. When the wild wolves came in front of them, the private army was surprised to find that these wolves were bigger than they remembered, like bison. Wait, these wolves first attacked the factory and then guarded the road that the private army had to pass. Why did it seem that their own target was these private army? However, the private army was also trained. They quickly shrank their formation and began to defend only after the casualties. Compared with the fangs and claws of wild beasts, human thermal weapons are better after all. The private army has dealt with wolves more than once. It was only in recent years that they slowly relaxed the plan to encircle and suppress the wolves after receiving instructions from above. Of course, this also gave the wolves time to breathe. Ren Xiaosu heard the gunshots. He didn't know why he always felt that the crisp sound was pleasant to the ears, so that his adrenaline began to secrete and he became excited. He didn't go to the battle scene up close. He only knew that the wolf pack and the private army were fighting, so the factory was safe. Ren Xiaosu ran in the wilderness like a cheetah. It was the first time for him to fully feel his new strength and agility. The muscle fibers tightened again and again, and then stretched again and again. This feeling can only be described as refreshing. When approaching the factory, Ren Xiaosu finally slowed down. He approached quietly in the night. At this time, Ren Xiaosu suddenly found many bodies of refugees. Those refugees seemed to want to escape to the market town, but they were caught up by the wolf pack one by one. Only a few lucky ones could escape at the cost of their companions. Ren Xiaosu deliberately observed their wounds. It seemed that they were all killed directly by the wolf pack biting on the neck, and the wolf pack did not eat these bodies, as if they were in a hurry. Ren Xiaosu thought for a moment. He did not go in directly from the main door, but climbed up along the pipe outside the factory. Every time he passed a window, he carefully looked inside to see if there were any survivors. When Ren Xiaosu climbed to the top floor, his heart was cold. It seemed that there were no living people in the factory. The wolves swept through the entire factory and no one was spared. Where were the guns hidden? Ren Xiaosu thought that the factory managers would not put them in a place where others could easily get them. Ren Xiaosu broke the glass on the top floor and jumped in. He looked around. The corridor was full of blood and corpses. This huge factory was like purgatory. However, Ren Xiaosu suddenly found something wrong. All the corpses seemed to be running in the same direction, as if something was guiding them. In a dangerous situation, what can attract people to run to the same place? Ren Xiaosu made his own judgment. That place was either the storage address of the weapons or a place to hide. He walked down along this route and unexpectedly reached the underground floor. Is this an emergency shelter? The further he walked, the more corpses he saw. Ren Xiaosu could imagine how everyone was running away in panic when facing the wolf pack. They wanted to escape to a safe place, but they were not as fast as the wolf pack. Ren Xiaosu came to an iron gate. Sure enough, people were running here to get into this iron gate. No matter how evolved the wolf pack was, it was just flesh and blood. It was still difficult to easily break through this iron gate that was several inches thick. I wonder if there are still people in this iron gate? Ren Xiaosu thought for a long time and actually raised his fist and punched the door 3 times. As a result, at this moment, someone in the iron gate shouted happily, "Is it the army? You finally come to save me. I'll open the door now." The knocking rhythm was clear. This was not the habit of wild animals, so the people inside actually thought Ren Xiaosu was an army coming to rescue. With a creaking sound, the iron gate suddenly opened, revealing a middle-aged man inside. He had a wound on his leg, and his entire trouser leg was stained with blood. He even supported the ground with one foot to open the gate. However, the moment the gate opened, both parties moved. Ren Xiaosu bent down and was about to rush over, but when the middle-aged man saw that the newcomers were not soldiers, his first reaction was to raise his pistol. The air suddenly solidified, and Ren Xiaosu stopped in front of the middle-aged man, because the black muzzle of the gun was against his forehead. The middle-aged man laughed. "So you are a petty thief who came to take advantage of the fire. I recognize you, Ren Xiaosu from the market town." Ren Xiaosu also recognized the other party. The middle-aged man was the manager of the factory, Wang Donggang. "I recognize you, too." Ren Xiaosu stood up straight and said nonchalantly, "Why are you the only one in there?" "No, you were the first to escape here and close the gate, blocking everyone else out." Ren Xiaosu felt a chill in his heart when he said this. No wonder there were bloody handprints on the iron gate outside. It turned out that it was the result of the refugees pounding on the door frantically. After the iron gate was closed from the inside, it was impossible to open it from the outside by normal means. Wang Donggang smiled and said, "Don't worry about these things. If you carry me back to the market town now, I will spare your life." "What if I don't carry you?" Ren Xiaosu also laughed. "Then I can just shoot you, lock the door and wait for the army to come and rescue me. I am in the refuge fortress, and they must come to rescue me," Wang Donggang said. You must be afraid that I will tell others that you sold everyone to survive. Ren Xiaosu continued to laugh. Wang Dongyang sneered. The pistol gave him great courage. He was now fearless. How did you know? Ren Xiaosu pondered. No one knows a son better than his father. Wang Dongyang. The factory manager was immediately angry. Do you think I dare not kill you? I know one more thing, Ren Xiaosu said slowly. What? Wang Dongyang had an ominous premonition. I know that your gun is not on safety, and now it is too late for you to open it. Wang Dongyang's pupils suddenly contracted. Just now, he thought that there were soldiers outside, so he didn't think too much. When he saw Ren Xiaosu rushed over so decisively that he didn't have time to open the safety. Originally, he thought he could easily scare Ren Xiaosu, because he thought that refugees like Ren Xiaosu had never seen a gun before, so they didn't know the structure of a gun and would only be afraid. As a result, Ren Xiaosu knew more about guns than most people in the number 113 shelter. Thanks to Zhang Kui's trumpet, that year's Children's Day, and the society forced you to be strong. Classmate 010 became the new leader of this book. Chapter 23 Boss Luo. The despair in the heart of factory manager Wang Dongyang spread bit by bit, like a creeper grabbing his entire heart. He didn't expect that he would be seen through. The only surprise was that he didn't understand why the boy opposite him knew about guns. The next moment he retreated suddenly, wanting to take this opportunity to open the safety, but Ren Xiaosu would never give him this opportunity. The whole person crashed into Wang Dongyang like a cannonball, directly knocking Wang Dongyang's ribs broken and the gun flew out. Wang Dongyang lost his last support. He lay on the ground coughing blood foam and said, "Let me go, I will tell you where my property is hidden." "You tell me first, and I will let you go," Ren Xiaosu said calmly. "Do you think I'm stupid?" Wang Dongyang actually knew that he was in vain. How could this boy let him go? If he let him go, would he still have a place to stay near barrier number 113? And when Wang Dongyang first heard about Ren Xiaosu had a nickname, Ruthless Ren Xiaosu. Your lungs have been pierced by broken ribs, so it's too late for you to go back to the market town now, Ren Xiaosu laughed. He also wanted to get Wang Dongyang's property, but the key was that the other party would obviously not tell him at this time. Ren Xiaosu stopped struggling. He didn't know when the battle between the private army and the wolf pack would end. If he delayed, no matter which side suddenly came to the factory, he would not have a good ending. The sound of a sharp weapon scratching leather rang out. Ren Xiaosu used a bone knife to imitate the marks of wolf claws on Wang Dongyang's chest to create wounds. He didn't pick up the pistol until he was sure that Wang Dongyang had no vital signs. He also took away the 2 magazines that Wang Dongyang was carrying. A total of 36 bullets. When Ren Xiaosu left, there was no living person in the entire factory. Ren Xiaosu looked back at this sure field. Behind him was the night, and this was the world he lived in. Horizontal ellipsis. Brother, are you okay? Yan Liwen saw Ren Xiaosu lift the curtain and come in, and couldn't wait to ask. He walked around Ren Xiaosu and found no blood before he felt relieved. I'm fine. Ren Xiaosu tied the bone knife back to his leg and asked, did anything happen in the market town while I was away? Have those private soldiers come back? Some of them came back with some wounded, as well as the bodies of their teammates and wild wolves. It is said that the rest of them continued to go to the factory, Yan Liwen said. Ren Xiaosu thought this was probably normal. Even if the wild wolves were powerful, facing a private army that was several times their size and carrying weapons, it was impossible for them to win. How many wild wolf bodies did they bring back? Ren Xiaosu asked. More than 30, Yan Liwen said. Brother, those wild wolves are too big. In the past, Yan Liwen asked Ren Xiaosu how big the wolves were, and Ren Xiaosu described them as very big. Yan Liwen only found out today how big they were. Ren Xiaosu frowned. He was glad that he didn't waste too much time in the factory, otherwise he might have just run into the private army rushing to the factory. Now it seems that the wolves withdrew when they saw that the sneak attack would not succeed, so the private army did not waste too much time. No wonder there was no gunfire in the wilderness when he came back by detour. It's just that the wolves are getting stronger and smarter. If they let them go this time, who knows what the people in the market town will face next time. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside. Ren Xiaosu lifted the curtain and looked outside. It turned out that a group of 10 people from the private army rushed back in an off-road vehicle in advance. An officer in the car said, "There will be a big reward for reporting who left the market town tonight." Ren Xiaosu was shocked because he knew that they were looking for him. The other party must have been to the factory. Ren Xiaosu thought that ordinary people could not find the flaws in Wang Dongyang's wound, but there was still a key problem that had not been solved. Wang Dongyang's gun was lost. If someone were to infer based on this flaw, it would be easy to find clues, which Ren Xiaosu could not avoid. "Brother," Yan Liwen looked at Ren Xiaosu worriedly. "It's okay." Ren Xiaosu pushed Yan Liwen's head back. Ren Xiaosu recalled carefully that he did not take the main road when he left the market town. It seemed that no one knew he had been out, except Yan Liwen. The soldiers were guarding the intersection of the market town. Not long after, all the private soldiers came back. The people in the market town watched, and then these private soldiers began to search every house. "This is, looking for that gun." Suddenly, a familiar voice shouted, "I know who went out in the middle of the night." Ren Xiaosu turned around and saw Yu Tong, a doctor in the clinic, looking at him with a smile. Yu Tong stood far away, mainly because he was afraid that Ren Xiaosu would kill him directly. The officer of the private army slowly walked over. "Who?" "It's him, Ren Xiaosu. I saw him leave the market town with my own eyes," Yu Tong said with a proud smile. Ren Xiaosu did not quibble. He admitted, "At that time, the dry toilet on our side was occupied by Hizong, so I had to go outside to defecate." "Who is Hizong? Is this true?" the officer asked loudly. Hizong, who was confused, didn't know how he got caught in the crossfire. He said weakly, "I did have diarrhea tonight, and many people can testify to that." The officer turned his head and looked at Ren Xiaosu and sneered, "Search." As his soldiers were about to rush into the shack, Wang Fuga suddenly jumped out. "Wait, he is a person that a nobleman in the fortress has specifically asked to be taken care of. You can't treat him like this." The officer was stunned for a moment. "What do you mean?" "Boss Luolan in the fortress specifically asked someone to take care of him this afternoon. Ren Xiaosu himself doesn't even know about this. As for why he was taken care of, you can ask Boss Luo yourself. It's not convenient for us to tell you," Wang Fuga explained quickly. "Boss Luo." The officer was a little surprised. Everyone could see that he obviously knew the boss named Luolan, and Luolan seemed to be a big shot in the fortress. The officer thought for a moment and said, "It's not okay even if it's Mr. Luo's people. This is a very serious matter. I will personally go to Mr. Luo tonight to apologize and explain." After that, his soldiers no longer cared about anything else and rushed into Ren Xiaosu's shack to search. Two people also began to search Ren Xiaosu. After 2 minutes, all the soldiers shook their heads and found nothing. The officer looked at Ren Xiaosu and said, "Take me to where you pooped." Ren Xiaosu frowned and walked out of the town. He didn't expect that this officer would be so rigorous and watertight. Yan Liwen behind him was ready to rush up, but Ren Xiaosu turned around and said sternly, "Go back." Yan Liwen's eyes were red at that time. Ren Xiaosu led the officers and soldiers to the outside of the town, pointed to a pile of shit and said, "Here, fresh, definitely not overnight." The officer took a look and ordered to continue searching other households, and no longer cared about Ren Xiaosu. Ren Xiaosu finally breathed a sigh of relief at this time. Fortunately, he had prepared well enough. He observed the environment before leaving and thought of a reason when he came back. Not only did he bury the gun outside, but he also provided the last piece of evidence to prove his lie. He defecated on the spot. He turned his gaze to Yu Tong, who had been following behind him. Yu Tong peered at Ren Xiaosu's vicious look. Chapter 24 Ren Xiaosu, the medicine seller. At first, Ren Xiaosu was not sure whether Yu Tong, who ran a clinic, really saw him go out, or whether he deliberately framed him even if he didn't see him. Later, he recalled carefully and found that he didn't see Yu Tong at that time. As a person like Ren Xiaosu, he knew that if he had robbed some clinic's business, he would definitely be wary of Yu Tong and prevent him from harming others. After all, in this world, you have to be careful of being calculated by others. So if Ren Xiaosu thought that if he didn't have any impression of this dangerous target in his memory, it meant that the other party was really not there at that time, so it was more likely that the other party lied and deliberately persecuted Ren Xiaosu. As for whether Yu Tong had considered the consequences if the frame-up was not successful, Ren Xiaosu felt that he was not that smart and probably couldn't think of this step. Ren Xiaosu used to tolerate Yu Tong, but he couldn't do it after he robbed someone's business and completely destroyed his job. So he advised Yu Tong to go back and read medical books carefully, but the other party not only didn't listen, but also came to harm him. Ren Xiaosu sneered at Yu Tong, while Yu Tong ran towards the market town, leaving a puddle of water on the ground. Wang Fuge laughed beside him. It seems that I wasted my time. It turns out that you are fine. Ren Xiaosu turned to look at Wang Fuge and said thank you seriously. In that situation, if there was anyone willing to come out and say something for him, he would remember it in his heart. Hey, look at what you are saying. Wang Fuge smiled like a chrysanthemum. If it weren't for Boss Luo's appreciation of you, I wouldn't dare to stand up and speak for you. It was indeed Boss Luo who asked someone to bring a message today, asking the managers of our market town to take care of you. Ren Xiaosu is stunned for a moment. What does Boss Luo do? Does he know me? Wang Fuge winked and said in a low voice, your medicine. Boss Luo likes it very much? Ren Xiaosu. Only then did Ren Xiaosu realize that Wang Fuge bought his black medicine and sent it to the barrier. Boss Luo said that if you hand in that much on time every month, you will be safe outside the barrier, Wang Fuge said with a smile. In fact, he also had selfish motives. After all, as long as he relied on Ren Xiaosu's black medicine to get in touch with Boss Luo, he could indeed ensure his safety for the rest of his life. Suddenly, Ren Xiaosu was moved. Does Boss Luo have a lot of power in the barrier? You don't understand this, Wang Fuge said proudly. He is the representative of the Qing group in barrier number 113. Why don't people from the Qing group have the surname Qing? Ren Xiaosu felt something was wrong. I told you this, don't go out and say it nonsense. Wang Fuge lowered his voice. It is said that he is the half-brother of a big shot in the Qing group, an illegitimate son. Then can you talk to Boss Luo and get us into the refuge barrier? Ren Xiaosu thought that Boss Luo had such great power and his words in the refuge barrier were still final. It shouldn't be difficult to get them into the barrier, right? We are all contaminated people, how can we enter the barrier? Wang Fuge said with a frown. Besides, if you go in, who will go to the wild to get herbs for Boss Luo? Ren Xiaosu suddenly realized that the second half of the sentence was the real reason. For Boss Luo, what reason did he have to let Ren Xiaosu and the others in? He could just stay outside the barrier to supply black medicine. That night, Yan Liwen suddenly had a high fever. Ren Xiaosu tried to exchange a bottle of black medicine and rub it on Yan Liwen's forehead, but it did not reduce Yan Liwen's fever. Ren Xiaosu sat by the bed and looked at the listless Yan Liwen and sighed. You don't need to make a wish for this. Don't make a wish without my order in the future, okay? Your high fever can be fatal. Yan Liwen forced himself to open his eyes and said weakly, but what if something happens to you? What should I do? Ren Xiaosu lowered his head and thought for a long time. Don't be stubborn. I will definitely lead you to live a good life. Yes. The next morning when Ren Xiaosu went to the market town to fetch water, he learned an astonishing news. Yu Tong actually ran away with the money overnight. The other party would rather face the danger in the wilderness than face Ren Xiaosu. Some people said that Yu Tong went to barrier number 114, because it was closest to refuge barrier number 113, and it was in the opposite direction of the wolf pack. As long as he took the main road, he would usually be fine. Ren Xiaosu was a little amused and scared away. However, something happened that Ren Xiaosu could not have imagined. The manager Chen Haidong sent from the refuge fortress came to him and asked him kindly, Ren Xiaosu, I heard that you can cure diseases and save lives. Ren Xiaosu is startled. I only treat knife wounds and external injuries. It's okay. Chen Haidong smiled even more happily. It doesn't matter if you can cure anything. Our market town is short of a doctor now. Do you have any interest? Yan Liwen, who was still lying in the shack with a fever, opened his eyes in shock. His brother just wanted to earn some thanks and money, but how did he suddenly become a legitimate doctor, and the only doctor in the market town? He didn't make a wish. Could it be that Ren Xiaosu didn't need to make a wish for what happened last night, so his luck was transferred? But Ren Xiaosu knew very well that the most important thing was that the manager Chen Haidong also wanted to show his favor to Boss Luo. Power is something that makes people around you serve you meticulously. Ren Xiaosu was not a fool. He agreed immediately. Can I have the clinic's house? Sure, Chen Haidong said with an amiable smile. That's absolutely great. You can move in today. There's no one there anyway. After saying that, Chen Haidong put his hands behind his back and hummed a little tune as he left. Not long after that, Lao Wang came in again with a wooden box under his arm, followed by some people who lived in brick houses, who were said to be the richest group of people in the town. Some opened small casinos, some opened cloth shops, and some opened grain shops. Lao Wang said, "Congratulations, Ren Xiaosu, you're living in a brick house now." As he spoke, Lao Wang handed the gift box to Ren Xiaosu. "I prepared a little gift for you and Li Yuan. You're growing up, eat this to replenish your body." Ren Xiaosu opened it out of curiosity and saw a ball of white stuff. "What is this?" "You don't understand. This is the bird's nest that I have collected for many years," Wang Fuge introduced. "It's very nutritious." Ren Xiaosu had only heard of this thing before, but had never seen it, but he always had a doubt. "I heard from Mr. Zhang Jinglin that bird's nest is made of swallow saliva, but I thought saliva is not that sticky, so it should be phlegm." Wang Fuge. "Giving you a gift shouldn't be so disgusting." He was unhappy. "Then there is also bloodbird's nest." "What is bloodbird's nest?" Ren Xiaosu pondered. "Blood and sputum." Chapter 25. A banner. "If you don't want it, just give it back to me." "Don't be so disgusting," Wang Fuge said, trying to snatch the bird's nest back. Ren Xiaosu happily covered the bird's nest box and threw it into the shack. "It's not disgusting. It's just a joke." He looked at the people behind Lao Wang. To be honest, if he called these people gentry, it would be an insult to the word gentry. These people all brought some gifts. In fact, everyone was familiar with Ren Xiaosu. This time they came mainly to be polite to Ren Xiaosu, meaning that we accept you into our circle, and we will all be friends in the future. Ren Xiaosu didn't say anything polite to them. Yan Liwen was still lying in bed to recuperate, so why not take the tonic? Ren Xiaosu, Lao Wang pulled Ren Xiaosu aside and said, "You should move to the clinic quickly. There are 2 houses with a small yard of more than 10 square meters behind the clinic. Many people are eyeing it." "Okay," Ren Xiaosu nodded. He was still quite polite to Wang Fuge. "Also, Boss Luo had someone send you some medicine from the fortress. These are all money. I had someone put them directly in the clinic. The most expensive ones are anti-inflammatory drugs and anesthetic drugs. You must take good care of them," Wang Fuge whispered. "Some people can't find cigarettes to smoke, so they steal anesthetic drugs to replace the addictive anesthetic drugs. I have suffered this loss." Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that anesthetic drugs could have such an effect. But it was a good thing that someone sent something. He asked with unsatisfied interest, "Did you send anything else?" "And a silk banner." In the morning, Ren Xiaosu and Sister Xiaoi packed up their things and went to the clinic. Who would want to live in a shack when they can live in a bright and clean brick house? He had planned it all. He and Yan Liwen would live in one of the 2 rooms at the back, and Sister Xiaoi would live in one. Sister Xiaoi used to live in a brick house, but later moved to a shack for the sake of these 2 brothers. Now Ren Xiaosu lets Sister Xiaoi live in a brick house again, which was considered a wish come true. But when Ren Xiaosu walked into the clinic with Yan Liwen on his back, he felt sick. There was a banner hanging in the middle of the wall of the clinic, "Miraculous bringing back the dead, Luo Lan." According to Wang Fuge, as long as this banner is in this clinic, no one will do anything to Ren Xiaosu, provided that Ren Xiaosu does not do anything that touches Luo Lan's interests. This is a talisman. Although this amulet makes Ren Xiaosu very upset, he doesn't know whether Luo Lan casually ordered his subordinates to make a banner or the other party deliberately teased him. The former is more likely. To Luo Lan, he is just a refugee who buys medicine outside the barrier. Ren Xiaosu settled Yan Liwen down. At this time, Sister Xiaoi was so distressed that she couldn't bear it. Ren Xiaosu didn't tell her about this last night for a fear of disturbing her sleep. She only found out this morning. Yan Liwen was enjoying Sister Xiaoi's careful care. Suddenly, he remembered that he always teased her before, so he said weakly, "Sister Xiaoi, I'm sorry for what happened before." Sister Xiaoi glared at him. "Why are you saying sorry to me? You 2 are just little brats. But if you weren't more mature than other children, you wouldn't be alive today." "It's mainly because my brother is awesome," Yan Liwen said with a smile. "I don't know how much suffering Ren Xiaosu has endured over the years," Sister Xiaoi sighed. "Countless suffering," Yan Liwen replied calmly. Ren Xiaosu was checking the remaining medicines in the clinic, as well as the new medicine sent by Luo Lan. Perhaps someone told Mr. Luo that he was a traumatist, so Mr. Luo sent a lot of anesthetics and anti-inflammatory drugs. Suddenly, Ren Xiaosu saw that there was a heat-clearing and detoxifying liquid in the big box of medicines, and he was overjoyed. He took the anti-inflammatory medicine and the heat-clearing and detoxifying liquid and went to give Yan Liwen medicine. The main symptom of Yan Liwen's illness this time was inflammation of the tonsils caused by getting angry. It is not said whether this is particularly symptomatic, but it is definitely a cure. There are still some medicinal materials in this clinic. Some cabinets have the names of the medicinal materials and the symptoms they treat written on them. Ren Xiaosu sighed that Yu Tong really has a good father, but he did not cherish him at all. That night, Yan Liwen's fever finally subsided, and Ren Xiaosu was relieved. He said to Sister Xiaoyu, "Those people sent supplements and other things to stew for you two to eat." Okay, Sister Xiaoyu nodded and went to cook. Now the three of them really like siblings, and they are not strangers. It must be said that sometimes fate is a very wonderful thing. Three people who seem to be unable to get together just happen to get together. When Sister Xiaoyu came back with the dishes and called Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen to eat, Ren Xiaosu suddenly thought of something and said, "Sister Xiaoyu, the room next door will be yours from now on. You can use it as your wedding room when you get married." Sister Xiaoyu, who was about to hand Ren Xiaosu the bowl, suddenly changed her expression and said, "Are you disgusted with me so soon? Do I eat too much? Or do I spend money recklessly?" Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. "Sister Xiaoyu, that's not what I meant." "What do you mean?" Sister Xiaoyu took the bowl back and said angrily, "Ren Xiaosu, you are so heartless. You eat the food I made and want to chase people away. I would rather give it to a dog than give it to you." After that, Sister Xiaoyu stuffed a bowl into Yan Liwen's arms and said, "Finish all the food." Yan Liwen. After that, Sister Xiaoyu couldn't help laughing first, and Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen also laughed. Yan Liwen suddenly felt that Sister Xiaoyu's smile was really gentle, but it was a pity that she was born in the wrong era. "Xiaosu, what are your plans for the future?" Sister Xiaoyu asked while eating. "I don't have any plans, let's take it one step at a time," Ren Xiaosu said. What he cared about most at this time was the unlocked weapon. Originally, Ren Xiaosu's wish was only for himself and Yan Liwen to survive, but when he found that he also had supernatural powers, he couldn't help but have more desires in his heart. Now the serial tasks have not been completed, to treat 10 patients. I don't know what the new tasks will reward, and that mysterious vending machine, will there be other products besides black medicine? All the unknowns are waiting for him to uncover. Yan Liwen looked at Ren Xiaosu expectantly. "Brother, what are we going to do tomorrow?" "I will help you treat people." Ren Xiaosu was happy. "Why, are you well?" "Yes." Yan Liwen was in good spirits after eating. "I'm fine." "Yes." Ren Xiaosu nodded. "Go to school if you have nothing to do." "Oh. Wedding anniversary extra update, I'm going to take my wife out. Update in advance today. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.